your mic on. Ali, your mic on. Many times. It's not making me.
All right. I call Hamtramck City Council meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, February 22, 2022, and it's 7:06 p.m. Would the clerk call the rolls, please?
Councilman Rafai,
Here.
Councilwoman Chakowski,
Here.
Councilman Chowdhury,
Present.
Councilman Al-Ramaki,
Here.
Councilman Al-Samiri,
Yeah, present.
Mayor Pro Tem Hassan is absent. Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
All right, let's all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any community announcement?
Mr. Mayor? This Saturday, there will be the 5K Punchki Run on the streets of Hamtramck, residential streets, Joseph Campo. The race starts at 10 a.m. and everyone's invited to participate, whether as a runner or as a spectator. You meet on the corner of Holbrook and Joseph Campo. At about 10 minutes to 10, there'll be a big kickoff where everybody, they'll sing the national anthem, the Polish national anthem, and then thousands of runners will run the streets of Hamtramck. And then the following Tuesday, on March 1st, there is the annual Punchki Day. And that's the time where thousands of people come to Hamtramck and buy that sacred Punchki, jelly-filled, can't call it a donut, and enjoy that on Fat Tuesday. That precedes the Lenten celebration for Christians, and it's the last time they're supposed to eat something sweet, so they enjoy a punchki. So those two big events are going on this week, and we look forward to seeing everyone there.
All right, thank you. Any more community announcements?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilman.
I got a comment on the Dearborn incident that happened last week, a week ago. Many, if not all, of us in the room are aware of the attack that happened to Al-Huda Islamic Center Association in Dearborn. About a week and a half ago, information has been released indicating that the suspect has a history of mental health conditions. According to the Citizen Research Council of Michigan, there are 1.3 million Michigan residents with mental health conditions. Furthermore, less than 50% of adults in the state of Michigan with mental illness receive any mental health treatment. If you or your loved ones is in need of mental health resources and don't know where, please call 211. It's a great place to start. This is a free hotline provided 24/7, reference to a local resource, and has a real-time, it's translated to Arabic, Bangla, and Polish. And thank you.
Thank you. And just for clarification, I think the suspect it hasn't been confirmed that he is mentally ill by a physician. It was just because of so many calls to the police department about what was he doing. So they thought he is mentally ill. But the investigation is still going. That's the latest I heard. Thank you. Any more community announcements? All right, we move to the proclamation, recognition, and presentation. And the first item is presentation of City of Hamtramck annual audit for fiscal year ending June 30, 2021, UHYLMP.
Mr. Mayor, we've had UHY for a number of years, and the presentations have been before us for a number of years in council, and it's a real pleasure to work with UHY. Susan Hendricks is our main point of contact there, but all of the departments are required to participate in our annual audit and supply information. So I just want to thank Ms. Hendricks, our Chief Financial Officer, and our departments that participated in supplying information so that a thorough audit of our finances could be made.
Thank you.
So I'm Mike Santich, a partner at UHY, and along with Marlene Beach, a principal at UHY, will present our results.
I'm trying to open it without the part of the email showing. So I'm not, so it's not a PowerPoint, so I'm unsure of how I can let me see what it is.
Just hide the email with an X over there. See where it is? Up,
Up here?
Yeah.
Oh, hide email. There you go. Just where, I was trying to hide email, I should look for hide email.
So we're gonna do a PowerPoint presentation as opposed to going through the entire financial statement. So we have a few, our profession says we have to have required communication, so we'll do that, then get into the numbers. So we did audit the financial statement of the government activities, business type activities, and discretely presented component unit for each major fund and the aggregate fund for the city of Hamtramck for the year ended June 30th, 2021. And we're pleased to report that we're issuing an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level opinion that we can. The accounting standards, we provided you the information about our responsibilities in our engagement letter, and we're gonna let you know a few things. Accounting policies, they're management's responsibility. We audit those policies to make sure you're following those, and they are noted in note 1 of the financial statement. The city did adopt a new policy, GASB 84, fiduciary activities during fiscal year 21.
I'm sorry, are you gonna tell me when to, turn?
I'm sorry.
Like, I wasn't sure, like, where.
Next page, yeah, you
Okay,
go.
so the next slide.
There we go,
So,
keep going.
this one?
One more. There we go, accounting.
Okay.
And then there's also accounting estimates, which are also managements, and as part of that, we do make sure that they are reasonable. And a few of the major assets that affected it was the net pension liability, the net OPEB liability, and the depreciable lives of property and equipment. We had presented our audited adjustments in the management rep letter that was issued earlier. We are not aware that these financial statements will be included with any other documents. Pleased to report, again, we had no disagreements with management over the course of the audit. To our knowledge, there was no consultations with any other accountants, and there was no issues discussed with management prior to our appointment. And again, like we said, there were no difficulties encountered during the audit. We'd like to definitely thank Sue and her team for helping us get through the audit. There was a lot of things this year with a single audit and all that, and she made our job a lot easier, so we definitely want to thank you. And now Marlene will go over some of the highlighted numbers.
As Mike said, we're gonna hit a couple of the key accounts. And of course, the first one would be the general fund. And what we do is we just do a year-by-year comparison. These past 2 years have been nothing normal about them, so normally we look for patterns to stay somewhat kind of the same. And they actually did, even though it was not a normal year. We saw a lot of different unique things, a lot of grant money coming in, expenditures, things being cut down. But what we do is we kind of compare the pie pieces. So if you look at the general fund balance sheet, go back too far. We have cash and cash equivalents in 2020 of about 5.8 million. In 2021, they were about 5.2. And if you look at receivables in 2020 were 1.4, receivables in 2021 were 1.6, which is about the difference in cash. If receivables are up, your cash is gonna be down. And that's just a matter of timing. If we had done the audit 3 days later, those numbers might have been different. So think of this as a snapshot. This is everything as of June 30th of 2021. The other thing you wanna look at is the fund balance, and fund balance unassigned. It means it's not designated for any purposes. It was about 6 million in 2020, and it was about 4.4 in 2021. And again, that is a direct relation of the activity that happened throughout the year.
Excuse me, can you say which color you're
Oh,
looking at?
I'm sorry, yeah, it's the,
thank
yeah, it is a little bit, kind of. Okay, the dark, let's see.
Orange on the left?
Yeah, the orange on the left. so-
Red,
Sorry, I'm slightly colorblind, so it was surprised maybe interesting. I might see green and I might be pink. So, the red represents total liabilities, so in this, the yellow, is what you, assets are what you own. Liabilities is basically the red is what you owe, and the difference is what's left, that's your fund balance, and that's the orange. Next slide. Okay, general fund revenues, there's, you might be aware that the majority of the money coming in, which is kind of the light green, is your property taxes. Property taxes were 6.8 in 2020, and they were slightly down in 2021. Again, a lot of it is a result of the timing in receivables. Another large part of your money is state shared revenue. Same slide.
Same slide, okay.
So, that's the green piece on the bottom. State shared revenue is 3.2 in 2020. In 2021, it was about 3.7, so your state shared revenue was up. Some of that was a result of timing. Some of the money coming in from the state in 2020 was late. So therefore, if it's not received within 60 days, here at the city, it's deferred, so it would be recorded in 2021. Fines and forfeitures increased due to things happening again. 2020, things were shut down. There wasn't a lot of enforcement because people weren't out. So we did see the fines and forfeitures go up from 1.1 to about 1.4 in 2021, and that's the red piece. Increase in licenses and permits, again, same thing. Activity was starting up again, so you would expect to see increases in your licenses and permits, and that's the blue piece pie. Next slide, please. Okay, so we did general fund revenue, now we have general fund expenditures. The light green is your public safety. Public safety was about 67% in 2020. As you see, it's about 65% in 2021. The general government, about 23% in 2020, and about 26%. Again, the pie pieces, they're fairly comparable. Public safety was, city had to work with rapid response. There was some capital outlay. Again, the public works, again, there was not a lot going on in 2020, more going on in 2021. General government, which was the green slice, so there's some professional services, legal fees, the quarter levy, and we had to do an accrual for some, the housing, remedial housing, and that was approximately $400,000, so that was the increase. Next slide, please. The other major fund, or one of the larger funds here, is your water and sewer fund. Revenues, sale of water is the light green, that's about $3 million in 2020, and it was 2.8. And water revenues were down. We've seen that trend because there were no penalty, you couldn't assess penalties, we couldn't assess fines between 20 and 21, so you're not unlike any other city we've seen where water revenues were down slightly from 1 year. Sewage disposal charge 5.3 in 2020 and 5.2, so went down just slightly. But once again, if you compare, you were at 36% for both years and 64%. So the percentages did not change even though they both went down slightly. Next slide, please. Expenditures for water and sewer fund. The light green cost of sewage was 61% in 2020, 58%. Once again, all the pieces are fairly comparable. The general administrative costs were 8% in both years. Water was 12% in 2020 and 11% in 2021, and operations and maintenance 19 to 23. Once again, fairly comparable. Next slide, please.
And back to some more required communications and the other matter. So with respect to the federal award supplementary information with the financial statements, we did ask management certain inquiries regarding the form, content, methods of preparing the information, and we found it was all used with US GAAP. The method of preparing it, again, was with Title II US Code of Federal Regulation, Part 200. the information is appropriate and complete in relation to the audited financial statements, and we compared and reconciled the supplementary information to the accounting records to prepare the financial statements themselves. The next slide is the single audit. So we did do an independent auditor's report on the internal control. So it's not a total internal control audit, but we do look at your key internal controls to make sure you are following them. And we were happy to report we found no discrepancies in that area. And so we did audit, the major programs tested was the Coronavirus Relief Fund that we got from the Department of Treasury. And we're pleased to report on the next page that you did comply with all the requirements that was the direct and material effect of the federal program, so that was good. So you were in compliance with that, so that's very excellent job. And again, like I mentioned on the next slide, is we did look at certain key internal control observations, and we're required to communicate if we find any holes in that internal control. And as you can see on the next slide, there's two definitions: material weaknesses and significant deficiencies. And there's the definitions, and we're pleased to report, when we went through all those, that we did not find any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. So that was excellent. And we have a couple of upcoming GASBs.
And without going into great detail, there's a big one coming up that's gonna keep Sue busy for a while. There's some new leasing standards coming up, things that you will see next year on your balance sheet as assets and liabilities, so they're gonna inflate both sides. Anything that's leased is now gonna be required to be on the balance sheet. Net effect is gonna be zero because it's the same asset and the same liability, just something that is gonna have to start being recorded effective next year. The subscription-based technology arrangement's not effective till 2023. I really don't think that's gonna have an effect here, but management will evaluate to make sure. And as I said, Sue's already started work on GASB 87. Rules are always changing, so.
That is our presentation. Any questions?
Can we get a copy of that presentation?
Yes,
I can,
Thank you.
And just as a note, the report has been submitted to the state of Michigan also, and the federal audit report that gets submitted to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. Both of those have been done, and they were both done in a timely manner. And then, once again, thanks to Sue.
define that. We don't define those terms.
GASB, okay, I'm sorry, we just use these terms all the time, Jesse. Government Accounting Standards Boards, and OPEB is your,
Other post.
thank you, other post-employee benefits, and GAAP is generally accepted accounting principles.
So GASB and GAAP are kind of what rules we have to follow.
And GAAP is for all accounting, and GASB is specific to the government world, or anybody that has a single audit. And a single audit is what we did when you get your federal funds and you spend more than $750,000. So you more than likely will be having a single audit this year again because of all the ARPA funding.
Thanks.
All right,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, next presentation is financial forecast for Plant Moran.
Mr. Mayor, last year, Brian Camilleri from Plant Moran joined council during our budget meetings, and we've invited him back again. The state of Michigan has funded Plant Moran to take a hard look at our finances. They stay in touch with us all the time and give us some forecasts, some trends, and he'll give that report today. This is Brian Camilleri.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come speak. And thank you to the folks at UHY for the audit report. So the difference between the audit report and what we've done here for you is that the audit is looking backwards at the last year. And the point of the audit is to issue an opinion that says whether or not the financial statements are complete and reliable and follow the rules, which, yes, they are. But what the audit doesn't do is analyze the financial well-being of the city. The auditors don't comment on whether things are getting better or worse from a financial perspective. They're just making sure that what happened is accurately reflected in those statements. So what we've done, with help from your finance department, is look ahead, look forward, using existing historical information, using assumptions that are grounded in reality. We're looking forward, what is likely to happen unless something significant changes. And so a year ago, on a Zoom call, we went through similar graphs as what we'll talk about tonight. And just recently, we were asked to update for the last complete fiscal year and continue to look ahead and see what of our assumptions have slightly changed. Is there anything that we should disregard that we talked about a year ago? Is there something new that should be included? So if you were around last year or you've seen last year's presentation, the graphs should look familiar, but they have been updated with more recent information. Next slide, please. So why were we hired? No secret, the city has had some financial difficulties over the years, not unlike a lot of Metro Detroit, a lot of Wayne County cities. And over time, you've had to make some very difficult choices. The services provided, the number of employees, the benefits offered to those employees, you've had to make sacrifices. The city of Hamtramck has made those sacrifices. And having made those sacrifices already, there's not any low-hanging fruit, as it were. You can't redo many of the things that you've already done. And so your options for making significant changes are somewhat limited. Next slide, please. So everything that I'm going to talk about is just the general fund. So right here is a 6-year trend of, 5 years of actual information. 2022 is your current budget with a couple very minor modifications. Now you'll notice in 2017 and 2018, general fund had a surplus. Revenues exceeded expenditures. The result is your fund balance grows. But every year since then, starting in 19, that equation is flipped. Now expenses are greater than revenue. When you spend more than you take in, what happens? Fund balance goes down. And so over the last several years, fund balance has continued to go down. Next slide, please.
Brian,
Yes.
can I interrupt you? Would you describe what the colors are in each of these?
Yes,
charts?
yeah, thank you. So blue represents the general fund revenue, orange represents general fund expenditures, and the gray bar is your fund balance. So you can see in 2019, for the first time in the graph, the orange bar exceeds the blue bar. And as a result, the gray bar decreases. And every year thereafter, as expenses exceed revenue, the gray bar continues to decrease. Next slide, please. So let's take a look now. I mean, that was at an aggregate level. So that's all revenues mashed together, all expenses mashed together. Let's look at the individual pieces that make up those revenues. So these next several we consider to be stable. It's absent another catastrophe of some kind. These revenues should be reliable. You can count on them. So the first one is property taxes. Now, we have excluded General Motors, and we'll talk about General Motors in another few slides. The blue bars here are the actual historic information, so these would come directly from your audited financials. The orange bars are an estimate of the future based off of your current budget and what we would expect to happen over the next several years. So as you can see, the bars do continue to grow in size, meaning your tax base should remain consistent, your millages should remain consistent, and you can expect a very modest increase to property tax revenue. So here in Michigan, we're limited to the lesser of inflation of 5%. We don't have 5% inflation. I know recently they're talking about 6% in like a 1-month period. We haven't had annual inflation of 5% in the last 25 years. No, it just doesn't happen. So you can count on approximately 2% a year. And that's what we've got here. Next slide, please. State share revenue. So similar graph, blue is historic information, orange is prospective. State share revenue comes from the state of Michigan. It's generated by all of us when we pay sales tax. When we buy stuff, we pay sales tax, it goes up to Lansing, Lansing redistributes it based on a formula. So you can see on the blue bar that there was a slight dip in 2020. So that was right at the beginning of the pandemic. Federal money was used to replace some of your state share revenue. And so you actually, for that particular revenue source, you actually came out ahead. That's what the note at the bottom of the slide is, that even though the payment was decreased, there was an offset to federal grant revenue, which gave you 150% replacement. Now, looking ahead, as long as we don't have some kind of economic collapse where we stop buying stuff, we'll continue to pay sales tax, we will continue to get it back from Lansing. So this, again, is a pretty stable, consistent, and reliable source of revenue. Next slide, please. Your district court. So at the early stages of the pandemic, when everything shut down, court revenue decreased immediately, and it took a while for it to rebound, but it has rebounded. The court continues to operate, the court adjudicates cases, and people continue to pay their fines. And so this revenue source, again, barring some kind of new catastrophe, as long as the court's open, you're going to continue to get fines and fee revenue from the court and from tickets written in the city. So we also consider this to be stable. Next slide, please. Income tax, still stable, but not quite the same shape of the graph. So we haven't seen yet a full recovery back to pre-pandemic levels. So when the pandemic hit and some people lost their jobs, some people stayed home, folks working from their home outside of Hamtramck may not have come into Hamtramck to work, and therefore may not have paid income tax to the city. And so while it has bounced back a little bit, it hasn't come all the way back to where it was in 2019. So we do have an assumption in here that it will continue to grow and rebound, but we haven't seen a sharp spike upward yet. Hopefully, but we're not gonna count it until it happens. Next slide, please. So now these revenue sources are questionable, and you'll see why in a minute, but this is one of those where I don't feel I have a great crystal ball. Property taxes, income taxes, state share revenue, I feel pretty good making a guess as to what it's gonna look like. We have a lot of history, and just the way that the system is structured, I feel confident in those previous sources of revenue. These are a little bit shakier, you'll understand why. Next slide, please. So I mentioned General Motors earlier. So we're under the assumption that the plant is going to be up and running at full capacity by the end of 23. And hopefully will remain at that level. But are you gonna bet your paycheck on that happening? I'm not, because who knows, right? So that's why I say it's questionable. But presuming it does get back to that operating capacity, then for our assumption here, we're saying we should generate the same amount of revenue coming out of the GM property as we received in 2018 and 2019, and just a little bit more. Next slide, please. The Wayne County Jail. The jail is going to close. The city is going to stop receiving the payment in lieu of taxes. We are assuming that fiscal year 23, you'll get half a year's worth of that pilot before the jail is closed. Now, might that property be used for something else, redeveloped? Of course, that's the hope. But until that happens, that site is not generating the revenue that it has historically. So for the purposes of the forecast, we're just cutting it off at 23 and saying once it's closed, then we're done for now. Next slide, please. So when you put it all together, you can see that general fund revenue, it's pretty flat. and it's dipping a little bit over the next couple of years as GM falls off, as the jail falls off. The recovery on property taxes and state shared revenue and income taxes, based on current information, those increases are not enough to supplement what you're losing in other places. Should mention that recovery in 2021, so blue again, historic, 2021 revenue, it rebounded. Most of that increase was federal grants. So all the stimulus money that the federal government was pushing down. Now, the ARPA money, the Rescue Plan Act money, you're getting 2.26 million, and you get to recognize that as it's spent. My understanding is that the city is still considering how it might be used. So we've spread it out over a 3-year period. So that's in 22, 23, and 24. So we just took 2.26 divided by 3 and spread it out evenly. And so it really, when that runs out, that's when you see the dip there again in 2025. Next slide, please. So what are your opportunities for generating more revenue? And unfortunately, this is a statewide problem. Our system in local government of generating new revenue, it's very limited, especially if you're an older, mature city that's already fully built out. Now, if you were out in the country, you can always build a new housing development, you could build a new factory, but here, there isn't open space. So you're kind of stuck with the tax base that you have. In terms of new millages, you really only have 2 options. One is big, one is little. The big one, Public Act 345, that has already been on the ballot here several times and has lost fairly handily. Most recently, it was almost 4-1 in the last election last fall. So were that to pass, 345 money could be used to pay for police and fire pension and any other retiree costs related to public safety. But unless a lot of education happens and there's a big changing of opinion, that is a very tough sell, Public Act 345. Now, Public Act 359, this is the little one. It's only $50,000. City Council does have the ability, without a vote of the people, to just implement it. However, it's restricted for community promotion, so that could be something like you're running your website and various communications out to the public, or putting your public access advertisement. Hey, come relocate to Hamtramck. Come move here, open a business here. You could do that sort of thing with it. But that $50,000 can't go to paying for police or paying the city manager, paying me. It's got to be related to community promotion. Related to income tax, so you can't just say, well, we're collecting 1%, let's make it 5%. We'll income tax our way out of the hole. That doesn't work. Income tax is limited. You're stuck to getting what you have. Now, you can do and keep doing improved compliance. So unfortunately, there are people out there that don't pay their fair share of income tax. You do have the ability to go after those people. Now, that takes manpower, it takes time, effort, and energy. And you're already running a very lean operation. But there is some money out there, and those folks that aren't paying, they do owe it to you. So if you're able to identify people that don't pay, it's not like you're raising taxes on anybody else. I mean, you're just going to collect what's already yours. District court, a higher volume of cases come through, but of course that is dependent on police writing tickets. State shared revenue, General Motors, Wayne County Jail, that's completely out of your control, right? So the state's gonna give you what you get. There's not an argument to be made for more. You can't ask them for anything. That doesn't work. You just get what you get. General Motors, hopefully the plant will be operational. Hopefully it will be producing jobs as well as revenue for the city. But it's really out of your hands. Same thing with the jail. Business licenses, code enforcement. Could you do more? Sure, but it's a drop in the bucket. It's very, very small compared to the big 3 of property taxes, income taxes, and state shared revenue. And I mentioned the ARPA again, 2.26 million, that's great, thank you very much, state of Michigan and federal government. However, 2.26 million it's short-term, once it's gone, we don't expect it to be renewed. So it's not like you can pay for operations using that money, because it's gonna run out. You're better off doing projects or one-time things. Next slide, please. So these other options, very difficult to implement anything like an authority. So the city of Hamtramck can buddy up, join up with another government, whether it's a city, whether it's the county, whether it's the state, you can create an authority. And that authority would have taxing power. However, we don't see a lot of these get built. Why? Politics always get in the way. It's tough for two governing bodies to get together, hash out all their differences, and make it work. Does it happen? Absolutely. Does it happen quickly? No, it doesn't. It takes time, effort, and energy to do something like that. False alarm fees, that came up last year as being something that the city could implement. I don't know if it has already, but it's just cost recovery. It's not new revenue to do something new. And then you don't own that many buildings that you could sell the rights to. I'd love to have my name up in lights on City Hall, but I don't think my wife would allow me to do that. All right, next slides, please. So, okay, revenue is tight. We don't have a lot of options. What about the other side of the coin? What about expenditures? Next slide. So this is all general fund expenditures for a 10-year period. Again, blue is historic, orange is looking ahead. And compare this to what we looked at with total general fund revenue. Total revenue was a much flatter graph. This one has a higher slope moving upward. Some of your expenses are, despite your best efforts, are just going to go up because costs just go up, even if revenues are not there to support them. The gray piece of this bar is just showing the increase from the prior year. You can see in 2019 there was a good jump, 2021 there was a good jump, 2020 was actually a decline, and 22 is a decline. Future years, slight increase in these expenses. Next slide, please. Let's look at at your general fund. Let's break it down into components. So this is the same graph, same expenses, but we've broken it down into two pieces. Number one, all personnel costs. That's the blue piece. The orange piece is everything else. Utilities, vehicles, general liability insurance, anything other than the cost of the people that work for the city. So you can see that the cost of people continues to go up, even if we don't add to headcount. Existing people just happen to cost more money. The orange bar doesn't really have the same increase, but you're a real lean operation already. There isn't any fat to be cut. That is part of that low-hanging fruit I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. You've cut all the low-hanging fruit already. Next slide, please. So now let's break down personnel into its components. So blue is wages, orange is insurance, and the gray piece is the pension contribution. So talking about insurance first, you already made significant changes to the benefits that are offered to both the active members and the retirees. So when it comes to healthcare, there isn't much left that you could do. And even if you did, how much of that orange bar, if you cut 10%, you cut 20%, it's not that significant in the overall picture. The big costs are wages and pension. Pension, the horse is already out of the barn, the toothpaste is already out of the tube. The people that retired years ago are going to get their pension. That's guaranteed by the Constitution. There is nothing that you can do to change that, not that you would want to, but you also are required to then contribute to the pension system. and put into it what MERS tells you you have to. And so because you're still not a well-funded pension system, those contributions are going to continue to increase year over year over year. Now on the person side, the headcount side, you're already a very lean operation. You have departments that are one-person departments, or a person and a half department. And those are statutorily required things that you have to provide as a city. Those aren't necessarily departments that you get rid of. Public safety has the most bodies, but that's again a very lean operation, and I don't think anyone is interested in reducing public safety. So when it comes to personnel, there's really not much you can do here, absent massive headcount changes. And I don't think that, no one is advocating for that. Next slide, please. So I mentioned that your pension costs are gonna continue to go up. This is showing you as a percentage of your total general fund budget. At this point in time, paying your pension contributions, most of which is going to people that are already retired, that makes up 30% of your budget. So right off the top, 30% is going primarily to folks that have long since retired, and God bless them, they earned it. But today's dollars are paying for yesterday's service. Next slide, please. I mentioned that you're not well funded at this point. You're only 40% funded on your pension. MERS, at a minimum, wants you to be at 60, really wants you to be at 80, with an eye on eventually getting to 100%. 40% is poorly funded. So you just know that you're going to have to make additional contributions. Some might say, well, let's make the employees pay a portion of it. They're already doing that. Most of your employees are already paying about 15% of their pay goes directly into the pension system right off the top. Healthcare, you've already made the adjustments, as I mentioned. The total cost right now is under $1 million a year. And then you look around, you know, it's not the paperclip budget, the utilities budget, like this stuff, there's not much here in order to be cut. So what does that really mean in total? Look at the next slide, please. So here we are with our forecast of revenues and expenditures together, blue being revenue, orange being expense, gray being fund balance. Your fund balance will continue to decrease. There's a gap between your revenues and expenses. Your expenses are larger than your revenues. The result is declining fund balance. According to our forecast, with very modest assumptions, you will enter into a deficit during fiscal year 2024. General fund will run out of cash shortly thereafter in fiscal year 2025. And if this continues year over year over year over year, at the end of fiscal year 2027, you would be $13 million in the hole. Now, that's actually impossible, right? Because if you don't have cash, you can't get to that point. You can't keep spending something you don't already have. So something would give before you get to 13 million in the hole in 2027. Something like a judgment levy because you stopped paying a certain bill or bills. So you would get sued and the judge would say, all right, well, I'm gonna slap a new millage on the city, the proceeds of which will go to whoever the city stopped paying. So you can't get to a deficit this badly. Something will happen before then. But this is the pace that you're on. Revenues are not keeping up and have not been keeping up with expenses. And there's nothing that suggests in the near future that is going to happen. Next slide, please. Now, the conclusion that I draw from this, you don't have an expenditure problem. You've fixed already most of your expenditure problems. You have fewer people, you have lower benefit costs. What you have is a revenue problem. The pace of growth for property taxes, income taxes, state shared revenue, and then those, you know, GM being closed temporarily, the jail being shut down, those things are all working against you. So you don't have an expenditure problem, you have a revenue problem. And I see this in many communities that I work with, especially in Metro Detroit. Places that, 2% increase in property taxes or state share revenue is not enough to make up for the increase in the pension contribution. It just doesn't offset each other. So what can you do? So you have to do something. Something's gonna have to happen. You can't end up in a $13 million deficit. You have to maintain, or should want to maintain, a certain level of fund balance. So just for conversation purposes, I've assumed that you would wanna keep 20% of your budget in fund balance, which is not a lot. The absolute bare minimum recommendation from the GFOA is 16.67%, just rounding it up to an even 20, makes the math easy. It's approximately $4 million that you would wanna have in fund balance. In order to maintain that $4 million from now till the end of 2027, and factoring into that $13.5 million deficit, you would need to come up with new revenue or cut expenses or a combination of the two to come up with an extra $3.5 million a year, every year between now and the end of 2027. And so as we've already covered, there are not a whole lot of options and opportunities to do that. And keep in mind, that $3.5 million would be so much worse if this city had not made all of the sacrifices that it's been making for years upon years upon years. It would just be that much worse. Next slide, please. So just to reiterate, an option, 345 millage, that pays for public safety, retirement benefits, pension, OPEB. It would take, even, we're looking for 3.5 million, here we go, to get to 3.2 million, just short. It would take 16 mills every year to generate that. And I'll remind you, just this last fall, asking for less than that, was it 10 mills that was at 10.5? That was rejected in November of 2020 by a 3-to-1 margin. It was rejected again in August of 2021 at a 4-to-1 margin. So while this is the best option for righting the financial ship, it will take a massive educational effort to convince the voters that this is what we need, and yes, I will be willing to pay it and vote for it. A very heavy lift. Next slide, please. Other alternatives that should be explored. It might only be a conversation, it might be much more than that. So a way that some other cities have controlled their pension costs is by issuing pension bonds. So it's basically like putting a mortgage, a fixed mortgage, onto that outstanding pension debt. So by issuing the bonds, you're controlling what the payment is. You take all the proceeds from the bonds, you stick it in MERS, MERS is satisfied, and now we're gonna pay the debt service on the bonds. And you know it's gonna be a fixed amount every year going forward. Great option, if you're eligible for it. Now, in order to be eligible for it, you have to have an A bond rating. I don't believe that Hamtramck currently has an A bond rating. Now, the legislation could be changed. This would be something to talk to your state legislators about. Could something be done that would allow, if not everybody, at least allow Hamtramck to participate in this option? Stranger things have happened, believe it or not. There is another revenue source under Public Act 33 for a police and fire special assessment. And the city of Saginaw was able to get that law changed twice to allow for them to participate in it, even though they don't meet any of the other qualifications. So an identical city in Wayne County can't do what the city of Saginaw is doing for their public safety costs. So with some help, the state law could be changed and perhaps you could issue those bonds. The city has used emergency loans from time to time, back when times were really tough. That would just be to buy time. I mean, you'd be putting expenses on the city's credit card and planning on paying them off in the future. You'd get some time to do that. It's not a solution. And outsourcing police and fire. I don't know if there are savings to do that. Some communities do that for both, some do it for one, some do it for the other. What you need is a willing partner to do it. So you'd have to enter into negotiations with the county or Detroit or another neighbor to provide services for you. But it would have to be at a price that is better for the city than what you're currently paying. Keep in mind, you're still gonna have the outstanding pension contributions for everybody that has come and gone prior. But worth at least a discussion. But again, these things all take time. Getting a law changed takes time. Getting authority takes time. Outsourcing takes time. So if you're going to look at these things, and I know that they've been looked at, or they're in the process, of being looked at, it will take time. You can't just snap your fingers and make any of these things happen. I wanted to make sure I pointed out things that are not an option. So I work in a lot of communities, and invariably when general fund is hurting, somebody will say, why don't we take money out of water and sewer? Water and sewer has money. You can't do that. That is illegal in the state of Michigan. So if you take water and sewer money to do anything but water and sewer, you will get sued and you will lose. And there are a list of cities as long as my arm in Michigan that are currently or have recently battled a class action lawsuit related to their water and sewer rates. You don't want to be on that list. Some might say, well, we have all these millages for these other funds, or these other things outside of the city. The schools have their millage, the library has their millage. Can we just not levy those and replace it with something that benefits the city? No, you cannot. The voters have already spoken, those millages are set. You are legally obligated to levy and collect and distribute that money to those other organizations. So don't even entertain that as an idea. Those millages for everyone else are sacred. Why don't we just break contracts and set new standards of pay and compensation for our employees? No, you cannot. Only an emergency manager has the ability to crack contracts. You don't have an emergency manager. The state of Michigan has gotten out of the business of inserting emergency managers. I don't see this governor or a future governor deciding, I want to get back in that business. So you cannot break contracts. You are legally obligated to follow and adhere to what already has been bargained for. So these three things, if they come up from the public, they come up internally, shut them down. These are not ideas that you can go forward with. Next slide, please. All right, what can we do? Public Act 345, as unpopular as it has been so far, is truly the way in which the city of Hamtramck can balance its budget going forward. It is a new revenue source, and that is what you need. However, it is a very heavy lift. So it's going to take a lot of education to convince people to vote for it, if they've already voted no for it several occasions. I would have a conversation with the Michigan Department of Treasury, with MERS, with your state legislators, and with the bond rating agencies to start yourself on a path to be able to issue pension bonds. And then the outsourcing option, whether it's through the city of Detroit, the county, the state, it's an option. I know it's not going to be universally popular, but it should be explored. I'm not advocating for it or against it, but I'm just saying it's an idea that should be considered before it is cast aside. Those are really it for the things that you can do that will have a very significant impact to your budget. Thankfully, the things that, the economic impacts at a local level related to COVID are already passed. That's not to say that it's over, that's not to say that people aren't getting sick, It's not to say that it doesn't continue to affect job growth or the unemployment rate, because it does, but those aren't local government issues. Your property taxes are stabilized, your state share revenue is stabilized, income taxes have stabilized, just not rebounded to 2019 levels. But COVID is no longer something to blame about our finances. Future revenues are unknown, fingers crossed, these things work out for you. Your new revenue raising options, as we've covered already, I don't wanna beat a dead horse, but they're limited. There's only like 3 things that you can do of any significance. And I kinda mentioned this earlier, but I really wanna hit this hard. So there is a precedent already set here in the state of Michigan that if you don't pay your bills, you'll get sued, and a judge will put a judgment levy on the taxes that forces you to raise money to pay those bills. So it has happened for slip and fall lawsuits, it has happened for pension lawsuits. If you don't make your pension contribution, you will get sued, and the judge will force you to raise taxes to make that pension contribution, because pensions are guaranteed by the state of Michigan Constitution. In the last 2 or 3 years, in the last year and a half, City of Wayne, City of Melvindale, both got judgment levies. City of Wayne's was 1 year for $4 million, and the City of Melvindale, I think it's either perpetual or it's like 10 years. But it's a long time, it's not just 1 year, to help them make their required pension contribution. So if the city isn't able to do it themselves, eventually, as we showed on the previous slide, you'll run out of cash, and when you run out of cash, you stop paying your bills, and then these dominoes start to fall, and you'll end up at a judgment levy. And so my final item on this slide, I put it in blue just so that it stands out. You are not in a position to cut your way to prosperity. The city has made cuts for a long time. I've been working for Plant Moran for 23 years. I've worked on and off for the city of Hamtramck for those entire 23 years. And the whole time, you've had to make tough decisions and do without what some other cities get to do. So all of that has already happened. You can't cut things that have already been cut. So it's not a matter of, if we just tighten our belts, we can make this happen. No, that's already gone, it's already done. You don't have an expenditure problem, you have a revenue problem. So the solution has to be revenue-based. That's all my prepared comments. Are there any questions I can answer for you tonight?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
Councilman Chirpy. First of all, I would like to thank you for being here and giving us the illustrations and wonderful things that we just learned. We already know that state share revenues is being cut down significantly. How significant affects a city like us, such a small city, when we don't get the state share revenues?
So I said that state share revenue is stable. The reason why I say that it's stable is because there's 2 components of state share revenue. There's the constitutional piece, which is guaranteed by the Constitution of the state of Michigan. That has never been cut. You will get that no matter what. The other side is called statutory. When we talk about cuts to state share revenue over the last 20 years, we're talking about cuts to statutory. And so the state back in 2000 or 2001 started, because they had the ability to, started withholding statutory state share revenue from local units in order to help their own budget, to balance the state budget. That's what they did. They did it for years. They cut and cut and cut, and we kept getting less and less. 8 or 10 years ago, though, they started reinstating it. They haven't cut it in several years, 8 or 10. The state of Michigan is doing well financially. One would hope that they would see fit to reinstate some of that they took away, but I have not seen, I have no indication, I can't imagine that it's going to happen, that they're going to reinstate what has been lost. I feel confident that they're not going to continue to cut it as long as the state's doing well. So that's why I think state share revenue is stable. I think you can count on getting what you're currently getting.
The second questions I have, you mentioned the Hamtramck city can join other cities, buddy up. My question is to you, like, can we expand our cities to other areas, such as taking over some of those properties so we can build the, businesses or big industrials? Because we don't have enough spaces. If we go over to the Detroit side and say we buy the lands, we want to build a big mall or big industries to create revenues.
Is it possible?
Is it possible?
Yes, it's possible that Detroit could allow you to annex a portion of them. It's possible. I don't think it's likely. I mean, they want their taxes just as much as you want the taxes. So I can't see a situation, that's just my feeling. I can't see a situation where that would happen.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if we sold all the properties, the city properties, would that affect the budget?
If you sold what the properties that you own,
Yeah.
if you took a property so right now, if you own the property taxes aren't being paid on it. So if you can take a parcel that you own and get it back on the tax roll, sell it to whoever, to either live in it or turn it into a business or whatever, yes, that would then create new tax revenue for the city. I don't know how many parcels you own, I don't know what the impact would be, I haven't looked at that.
Obviously, that's pretty dire numbers that we see. So like hypothetically, if all of your predictions are 100% correct and the people in Hamtramck do not want the Public Act 345, is it possible that the other things you mentioned might fill that gap, or is it not possible? Does that question make sense?
You need a revenue source.
Yeah.
You need a sustained, reliable revenue source. That can come in the form of a 345 millage. Unfortunately, it could come in the form of a judgment levy. But it could also come if you have an authority, two cities buddy together, city, county, buddy together, that new authority becomes a unit of government. And that unit of government can levy taxes. Now, in order to do that, it would also likely require a vote of the people to do that as well. But really, that's what you need, is a millage-sized new revenue source.
Mr. Chair, with this being said, so you see, we already have our residents complaining about the property tax being increased and already paying too much taxes, and I know you said that as educating them, more emphasizing to explain to things that it's needed in order to pay the pensions and retirees. But the mileage, the property tax is already going up, and to add more to it, and then city like us is under poverty. We don't have that much income level, incomes from the workers. So how do you just ask them to increase?
Well, I would hate to be in that position myself, and I feel for you, but the numbers are what they are. And I've never worked in a city that thought that their taxes were too low. Everyone thinks that their taxes are too high, but the fact is, you have costs that are fixed, you have a pension liability that you can't get out from, and you have to provide service. So unless you can find a way to provide service for $3.5 million less than what it is now, you need a new revenue source.
Okay. All more questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, the next presentation is the infrastructure overview by Hennessy Engineers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you here. Tiffany and myself are going to give a presentation on the overview of the infrastructure of the city, and we're really going to focus on 3 areas. If you go to the next slide, that'd be great, thank you. Back one, thanks. And we're going to focus on 3 areas of our infrastructure: the sewer system, the water distribution system, and the roadway network within the community. And what we're going to focus on is a little bit of the history, especially with the sewer system, so that the community can understand the challenges that we're facing in rehabilitating the sewer system. But in addition to rehabilitating it, we have to actually enhance the system to get to the desired level of service that the community would expect within it. And it's a result of the age of the community and when the infrastructure was originally built through there, and now we're having to deal with those problems. Getting into the sewer system, if I could have the next slide. There are 2 types of sewer systems, and there's a combined sewer system and a separated sewer system. A combined sewer system is the city of Hamtramck. It's on the left, and you see that there's basically just one pipe there for even the storm line that comes out of a house through there. So that means all of our street runoff water, when it rains really hard, we see all that water going into the catch basins in the road. That ends up in our sanitary sewer system. About the 50s, they started doing separated systems through there, and that's to the, on the right where you have the purple line, which actually is a storm line. That would collect the surface water runoff from roadways and discharge it to open waters generally. And, the combined system was common when the city was built, the infrastructure over 100 years ago. And many cities face that. City of Detroit has that, City of Royal Oak, and things like that. So if we go to the next slide. So this is kind of a descriptive slide of how the sewer system works. Under normal sanitary flow conditions, so this is a day in the middle of the summer, sunny day, our sewer system is working, people are taking showers, they're doing laundry, things that we all do every day, and our sewer system has no issues whatsoever through there. And you can see that orange line identifies at the bottom the normal sanitary flow through there, right there, thank you. And then once wet weather begins though, and rain events happen, is that the next slide? Thanks. You can see that our sewer system collects more and more water in it through there because of the street runoff through there, and you can see, and that's where basement backups occur through there. It's because we have this combined system, and we're all trying to put all this wet weather flow and dry weather flow into the sanitary sewer system. And that's really the crux of our problem in a simplistic way. Can I have the next slide? So one thing I want to go over is real quickly is terminology and how we size sewers to accommodate wet weather flow and dry weather flow through there. And we look at it as a volume over time. And so it's, we measure it in cubic feet per second. So a cubic foot of water is if you were to take a box that had a length and width of 1 foot and a depth of 1 foot, it would have 7.48 gallons within it. It would contain that. So 1 cubic foot per second is 7.48 gallons. If you were to have that over 1 minute, that generates 448 gallons of water per minute. To give everyone a frame of reference, a bathtub holds about 42 gallons of water. So you'll have 10 bathtubs coming through per minute, just to give everyone a perspective through there. If I could have the next slide. So this is I want to go through the history of the system. If we focus on the drawing to the right, we were originally built really by the city of Detroit. And they built the majority of our interceptor systems, and then we built the rest of the laterals through there. They built them and turned them over to the city when the city became a city. And there were 3 main lines through there. There's the Lumpkin line that's to the left, that's right, and then there's at the very top, the purple is what's referred to as the Joseph Campo Upper, and then the green is the Joseph Campo Shallow. The Joseph Campo Upper really handles everything north of Holbrook, and the Joseph Campo Shallow handles everything to the south of Holbrook through there. And then Lumpkin carries a little bit of the west side of the state on both up and north and south of Holbrook. And then that little picture you see to the right, in the 50s, the city of Detroit knew there was a problem. And this is a picture taken in early 1950, and it shows children swimming underneath the railroad tracks on Conant through there, and it was referred to as Lake Hamtramck. And every time it would rain, kids would go out there, and they're not swimming in clean water. Just to give everyone a perspective of how it was. Well, the city of Detroit had a real robust engineering department in the 1950s, had a lot of resources, they were doing really well. So they really commissioned a significant study, and they built what was referred to as the Conant Mount Elliott Tunnel, and that's on the very far right. And the Conant Mount Elliott Tunnel is a 15.5-foot diameter tunnel that's 50 feet deep. So you can drive a car through it there. And it was designed to handle 1,800 CFS per second. So that's 1,800 7.5 gallons per second. I mean, just a tremendous amount of water that it was designed to handle. It allocated 907 CFS to Hamtramck because they understood we were having a problem and they were having a problem a little north of us through there. So in the the design was started, I think, in 54. The construction was complete in 57. And the city of Hamtramck had 5 junction points to join the Conant Mount Elliott Tunnel. And at the time, the city elected not to do that. And that is really where we are today, through there. And through the administration, we've talked with Detroit. Actually, there was a lawsuit that we engaged with them. And we basically said, through Mr. Allen too, and I don't want to speak, but they said that our position was, you have to help us because we can't get our flows out. And their position was, we gave you the ability to get your flows out. You just have to tap this tunnel through there. So it's not surprising that they had a very strong case and we had a very weak case through there. So some other changes that have been done to the system, that was a significant change. Another change that was done was the construction of I-75. It changed the Lumpkin sewer a little bit, but not substantially, to be candid, through there. But the major change came when GM built their facility at the south end. And that cut off the outlets for us for the Joseph Campo Upper and Shallow. So the city of Detroit had to build the Denton Tunnel, it's referred to. And that's at the very south end of the city, right there. So that is actually the only tunnel connection that we have to the Conant Mount Elliott Tunnel. And the city of Detroit built that and then turned it over to Hamtramck. So now our upper and lower Joseph Campo sewers go into that tunnel and then are released. But the problem that we're having is the Joseph Campo and upper are woefully underdesigned. So the Joseph Campo Shallow is designed for 15 CFS. So imagine the magnitude, 15 versus the 907 I'm talking about. Well, we put meters in about 6 years ago just to see how the system was going during a normal 10-year rain event. And we found out that we were running at about 188 CFS. It's designed at 15, so that's how that rise in the sanitary sewer system happens. And then on the Joseph Campo Upper, it carries more flow from the city. It's designed at 42 CFS, but it was running at about 225 CFS. So still we're order of magnitude of 5 below that through there. So we were really designed for dry weather flow and not wet weather flow. And that's what's really been our historical problem through there. So as a part of this situation, the lawsuit that we undertook, if I could have the next slide, we really took a detailed look at how to resolve the issue.
Is that supposed to be like that?
It is not.
We tested this when we first walked in here.
Oh, no. Well,
You can pull up the PDF.
Okay.
Maybe switch to that.
and so we looked at that, and what we did is we came up with a overall comprehensive master plan on how to address the basement flooding. And this is where I'm talking about, we not only have to rehabilitate the system, we have to enhance the system. And the very first thing that we looked at was Holbrook is kind of the dividing line, is how the system was really originally constructed. So we have to work with what we have with us through there. And the result is we built a relief sewer on connecting to the Denton sewer. And it was referred to as Phase 1A and 1B. And Phase 1A went from Denton up to Goodson through there. And then we built a 20-foot chamber about 17 feet below ground to accommodate, I don't know if I wanna, it's a little bit lost without the graphic. Okay, I'll talk through that, I'm sorry, I apologize, but if I can just, I can improvise real quickly here. So, the Phase 1A was constructed about 6 years ago, and it was a 6-foot tunnel that went up to Joseph Campo, as I mentioned. And we are currently in the design phase, or actually the permitting phase, of the second phase. And what I'm referring to, if I can point this out, if I could just walk in front of here real quick, I'll show the crowd. This is what was built here. This is Phase 1A, this is the Denton Tunnel, and this is 1B. This is what we're proposing to build this year through there. And so this will run right up, almost just south of Holbrook, and it'll run over to Lumpkin through there. And it's this little L section is the 1B through there. And that will complete the phase of 1A. So that will provide sanitary sewer relief for the Joseph Campo shallow through there. It'll also provide relief for the Lumpkin sewer through there. And what we're looking to do is we're gonna build those, build that this summer through there. And we'll be replacing Goodson completely, the street road. It's a 5-foot diameter tunnel that's 17 feet below ground, so it's a substantial project. And we're building another chamber that's 20 feet on Lumpkin. So you need the 20 feet because you need to provide enough surface area for the water, that substantial volume of water to come into the sewer system through there. But the second phase of the project deals with what's north of Holbrook. And that hasn't been planned out yet, but we're pursuing that. And that's the one that we're talking about, is in the range of the $40 million plus through there. The Goodson sewer is, and Timmy's gonna talk about the water a little bit. The sewer's being paid for water and sewer funds that we've been saving up for, and then the water is being paid for through the grant through there. The sewer is looking at about 5.5 million, and then the water's in addition to that. And what we'll do is we'll be able to make sure we can get this presentation for council too, and we put it on the webpage, and we're here to answer any questions at any time. You know, if you have a question during any time, just shoot us an email or call, and we'll take it. And I'm gonna let Tiffany deal with the water issue and talk about the roads also.
Alright, thank you, John. So, to go over the water, the city owns and operates approximately 42 miles of water main within the city of Hamtramck, and that provides drinking water and fire protection for your residents. So we receive the water from GLEWA, Great Lakes Water Authority, through 8 metered connections.
So if I can, this is fine, thank you, I just don't wanna lose it. So the light blue line is what was constructed about 6 years ago, which is the original extension of the sewer, if you could put, just so people understand.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Which part? I'm
Right
sorry.
there, yep, right there. And then the purple L shape is going to complete that. And so that's gonna relieve the Lumpkin sewer and the Joseph Campo. Why this was selected is because the tunnel was there from the Denton Tunnel. We didn't have to go through the expense of building another connection points. Those are very complex connection points, very expensive, because you're 50 feet below ground in a very urban area. You'll have to have caissons through there, so because that was already done, that's why phase 1 was selected. And then you can see the north portion of the community, we've got some orange lines and a series of tunnels that we look at, and we think this is what we believe is the best approach, that's the most economical to get us to the connection. It only has one connection point to the Conant Mount Elliott Tunnel, because the connection points are so expensive to build in it's cheaper for us actually to spread out the collection sewer through there. But we will have to get into some modeling to do that, to really get to that. And we've been working with the administration to leverage Treasury really to get us to the point of where we can get the modeling done. We have to do flow monitoring, so we have to know exactly the volume of waters that we're dealing with. Then we have to hydraulically model it. And when we model it, we calibrate it versus what we're seeing in real world. We do hypotheticals, and then we calibrate it versus real world. And then we could actually put together a strong cost estimate of what we think that would entail. And that's done before design. And then it's designed to be constructed in segments. This is really a marathon, not a sprint. So we understand that we might get gaps of funding, and we're gonna do what we can when we get the gaps of funding through there. But this is what we really need to do to resolve this. And we just gotta get our flows to the Conant Mount Elliott Tunnel. We're basically doing is, we're forcing the traffic of I-75 down Joseph Campo. And you know, that if you can visualize that backup, that's what's happening within our system. So, thank you.
So, this will kind of start over real quick. So city owns and operates 42 miles of water main throughout the city of Hamtramck to provide drinking water and fire protection to your residents. You receive the water from BLEWA, Great Lakes Water Authority, through 8 metered connections throughout the city. And the system includes 10 emergency connections with the neighboring community, city of Detroit. So next slide. So as you can see here, we've had a series of completed water main projects. So we recently completed 334 water service lines replaced to date. So that's replacing the lead service lines within the city. And we have 56 lead service lines being replaced at this time that we plan to finish in the next couple of months. And then the Holbrook water main, that was replaced from Lumpkin all the way down to Conant. Next slide. So the water main projects that we have coming up in the future, as you can see here, in 2022, we're looking to put a new water main along Kniff, and then Goodson and Dan Street. And then in 2023, a water main replacement project on Prescott. And then in 2024, looping water main on Joseph Campu and Denton Street there. And then in addition, we have the 678 water service lines to be replaced with it in the years 22 and 23. Next slide. So to kind of shift over to the roads and alley projects, so this is what we have completed to date. So we've done 2 big road reconstruction projects, as I'm sure you guys are all well aware, on Holbrook and Kniff. And then we've also done a series of road resurfacing throughout the city, as well as, I believe it's 18 alley replacement projects and 1 parking lot replacement. Push. So over the next 4 years, these are the projects that we currently have in our CIP to complete. So we're looking at doing Kniff from Joseph Campu down to Conant and Conant to Buffalo. And then the Goodson water main, or part of the Goodson water main sewer relief project will be replacing Goodson Street. And then Hamtramck Drive this year also. And then we're looking at, we have a bike lane project that's going in from Hamtramck Drive all the way up to Carpenter Street. And then we have a series of road resurfacing projects throughout the city also, as well as approximately 6 to 8 alleys that we're looking to improve upon. Next. So here's a summary of all the projects by year and what type of funding we're looking at to get these projects completed with. So a lot of these are grant assistance. They're not covered 100% by grants, but through the DWRF grant, we're able to do 5 water main projects and the lead service line replacement. So with the 5 water main projects, the DWRF grants are giving us 30% of that cost, and the lead service line is giving us a $3 million forgivable loan. And then the road projects will be constructed on, using a series of tap grants.
And I will tell you, the administration's done a great, we work with a lot of communities, and we've done a great job here to leverage what we've had to get other outside funding mechanisms and grants, to do that. It's a substantial amount of work that's being proposed here through there. And, but it's work that needs to get done through there, you know, and, our next hurdle is really to just continue to address phase 2 of the sewer system through there to eliminate the flooding through there as much as we can. As soon as we built the phase 1A, we saw an immediate impact actually through there, and so we know that it's everything worked out really well per our model. So it looks, we've got a real good understanding of it, and we just need some sympathy from from the state level to help us with that, you know. And we're here to answer any questions that the council may have.
Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question is, I saw a few residents earlier today asking about the roads that they were on the streets that had lead service line replacements recently, and they said that they received information about the sidewalks in their yards being repaired, but not about when the street would be repaired. Would that be the same timeline?
No, so usually on anything that we're doing lead service line replacement, road resurfacing will be done. Usually it's a delayed, because you have, the water main's down the center line, or down the road, and in order for them to connect the new service line in, we have to obviously put a hole in the road. So we wanna make sure we're getting lead service lines done prior to any road resurfacing work. So not every road is on our current CIP to be resurfaced, but,
Yeah, the problem we're running into is we have to replace almost every lead service line, so we'll have temporary patches within the road through there, but our goal is to leverage some more money to mill the road off and then put a new cap on it, essentially, if the road doesn't have a structural problem. Roads that are being totally reconstructed are really where we get grant money and to fund for that. So then when we'll take advantage of that, and we'll totally rebuild the road through there, and kind of like the Goodson Sewer, that's what we're doing there.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Councilman Chaudhary.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentations. I just have a quick question. You mentioned something about the tapping a tunnel. Detroit will allow us to tap the tunnels. Is this happening, or would it be happening?
No, that's not part of our current projects. That would be phase 2 of what we're looking to do, is to tap that tunnel. And one of the things that we have to really work on too with Detroit is that in the agreement, there's a fee to tap the tunnel established in 1957 at a 5% increase from 57. And we would have to negotiate, so, you know, Detroit would be looking for a few $1 million just to tap it, you know, and that's something that we really need to talk to Treasury about and the city of Detroit. And I think, you know, Detroit understands our predicament through there, so I don't think that those negotiations would be bad in a sense, you know, and I think it's a contract that we would, if both parties agree to amend it, we could do that.
John, you might want to mention what our tentative cost of that project was.
That project is about $40 million to do that, you know, and what we're looking to do is just to, you know, even doing the modeling and the data collection, things like that would be $200,000. So that's the type of money that we're looking for the Treasury to do and support us in through there.
Mr. Mayor, on that project that you asked about, Councilman Chowdhury, we have applied to FEMA.
Yes.
For a $40 million grant for this. You know, we don't just wait to see who wants to give us $40 million, we're looking for $40 million.
Yeah, we've applied to Wayne County.
Wayne County is facilitating that, and so we have, everyone knows that we need the $40 million. It's no stranger to any conversation we're in when we talk about our sewer system.
And that was some of the, you know, the trouble that we're having is because we can't get, you know, shovel ready in a sense, we've all heard that term, until you actually have the data to support it, because, you know, we have to get our permits through Eagle, in the state of Michigan and city of Detroit through there. And that's why we tackled phase 1, 1A and 1B first, because we had that knowledge in our wheelhouse.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
regarding the construction of Goodson Street, how long will it take to do the entire street? And also, what's the plan for the citizens if it will take a while? Where are they gonna park?
We're gonna have to have we're gonna set up community meetings, in probably April with those residents specifically is our goal through there. You know, we're out to bid in a month or so, and, through there. The project itself will take all summer, to be honest, because we're replacing the water main through there. There are 2 water mains that run down the street now, and if you've been down that street, you can see there's been multiple repairs of the water system. We're replacing with a brand new water main, replacing all lead service leads through there. But this, it's a 5-foot diameter sewer that's about 17 feet. They will probably get about 70 feet a day. It's a complex construction through there. It's about 1,600 feet through there. So we anticipate, and we're gonna have to work with the community, the residents for sure, so they understand. We're gonna do probably half the street off the Lumpkin side, and then we'll kick over and do the other half over by Joseph Campo. But our access is to always provide pedestrian access for sure for the residents. They will have that without a doubt. But vehicle parking, you know, while we're in that construction area is gonna be it's gonna be tight, you know, through there.
Well, you know, like, that's a busy street, by the way.
Yeah,
So,
oh yeah.
You know, it's a recommendation that if that's a plan, that you will guys do half of the road and then keep half where they could park, and that would be a really good idea.
Yeah, that's right.
'Cause-
So when we build that, we're gonna build it, and they'll put what we refer to as maintenance aggregate down there, so that the road will be gravel, and then we'll come through, once all that's done, and we'll put a brand new road there. We get brand new curb and gutter through there, and that's all through there. So there's gonna be a sequence of construction activities on that street.
And is it the entire street, or you guys going nearby the sidewalks and the?
No, it's going from face of curb to face of curb,
Okay.
really. And, we're gonna have, snow fencing, or, you know, to keep, cause it's a deep excavation, you know, and we understand that, you know, excavations can be an attractive nuisance, especially to young people and things like that. So we take, extreme care about that. And we're making the contractors submit in a detailed, construction sequence, a Gantt chart that we refer to, as to how they're going to proceed with the construction through there. We're going to have, pre-bid meetings with the contractors so that they understand, so we understand. There are techniques that we can do that can accelerate the construction that we're gonna try to impose, you know, conveyor systems, so that they bring the aggregate through underneath the machines. It's gonna be an interesting project to watch in a way, but it's gonna be a lot of work.
Estimated time?
All summer.
The entire
Is it?
summer?
Oh,
So
yeah.
when are you guys planning to start the work, and then probably?
We will be in front of you in April to award a bid, is that right? Bidding is to
It's
April.
going to be soon.
April 11th. So we'll be in front of you probably the second meeting of April or the first meeting in May, and we'll look at the work right away. The work that we're gonna do first is we're gonna do the water main work first. That won't be nearly as disruptive, because we're gonna directional drill that right underneath the sidewalk. It's kind of a non-invasive technology that allows us to do that. So we're gonna keep the residents in place and all access as much as we need to, and then we can move on to the sewer work through there.
Councilman, we don't wanna overpromise, cause it is going to be inconvenient.
It is, I'm
It
not,
is gonna be terribly inconvenient, but we cannot do major water main, service lines, and road construction and not inconvenience those residents. But we'll do everything we can. I mean, Veterans Park is not far from there. Maybe we can work something out at the far end, at Lumpkin Street for parking. But it will be a major inconvenience for the entire summer. So it, you know, we have to plan for it, but, you know, Orange Barrels are jobs in progress. So we're gonna do our best to make that, and we'll bring more to that, you know, we've got other things to look at tonight, but we'll bring more to you in the coming weeks.
And that will be
All right,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll move to the next item, proclamation of Women's History Month. Councilwoman Kusi, could you read that, please?
So, the City of Hamtramck proclamation in recognition of Women's History Month. Whereas Hamtramck women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our city, state, and nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas Hamtramck women have played and continue to play a critical political, economic, cultural, and social role by constituting a significant portion of our labor force working inside and outside of the home. And whereas in Hamtramck, women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force, and when called upon, the manufacturing labor force. And whereas women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in Hamtramck and across the country. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement since the United States of America was founded. And whereas women have and continue to serve our country courageously in the military, and whereas American women have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. Whereas, despite these contributions, the role of women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hamtramck that March is designated as Women's History Month, and call upon the people and the institutions of the city to observe March as Women's History Month.
Thank you. The next item is 2021 Annual Report for the Code Enforcement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we have Richard Radke, who is our Code Enforcement Supervisor, who will give that report.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Well, this is one of my first reports ever to the council, so I'll try my best. Richard Radke's my name. All my friends call me Rocky. I'm the Code Enforcement Supervisor. Currently, I have one other officer. We had two that got two previous jobs. So we are now interviewing for two more. We have a second interview set up for next week for two more officers. As far as totals, last year we had 3,517 enforcements. We had over 5,700 re-inspections, and we issued over 1,700 tickets. Revenue brought into the city by our department was just under $120,000. We're doing a grass cutting program where we have our contractor, we tag a property if your grass is over too tall, and if you don't cut it in 72 hours, then our contractor cuts it and we bill you. It's been very successful. Probably about 85% of the time it's the homeowner that cuts the grass. This year we hope to implement a graffiti program the same way. Either take care of the graffiti on your property, or we will do it at a cost. At this time, that's about all I can tell you.
Any questions?
One very quick question, is the notifications from complaints, is that including the citizen portal complaints?
No, just what I get as a complaint, yeah, I didn't. It's kind of new to me and I don't know how to pull that just yet.
Yeah. It's fine, I was just curious, because it seems like it would be kind of a low number, but,
Right.
yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
So Rocky, I know now you're down with one officer, correct?
We're down to
To
we
two.
lost two officers. We have two, we're having a second interview next week. One is a retired police officer from Wayne County Airport. One has 3 years' experience in the city of Dearborn and is a Arabic interpreter.
So when did we lose those two code officers?
I want to say November, I believe, October, November. One got a job with the Wayne County Road Commission, which it turns out the yard was 10 minutes from his house. and it was a full-time position for him. And another one we hired was laid off from Detroit, our Michigan Science Center, and it got called back,
Okay, and now we're interviewing two more, code enforcement.
yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Hey, how do you guys give that ticket? Is it by complaint or?
We go out and inspect. Everybody has an area of the city, they go drive around, take a look what the property looks like,
Yeah,
and then we issue tickets or warnings.
because some people complain you guys being selected. Like some
No.
people got tickets and the neighbor didn't get tickets.
Depends what their property look like compared to the neighbors.
Yeah, I talked
You
to
know.
someone, they said it's by the complaint. If someone complain about their neighbor, they come get them tickets.
Well, we get complaints from neighbors, and neighbors try not to, our first thing they say is, please don't say it was me, because they don't want, problems. We don't pick and choose who it is, we don't know who it is in that house when we're standing in the alley. So, I mean, unfortunately, people will be upset at what we do.
And so, Councilman, just for clarity purposes, this code enforcement is about what's on the ground,
Yeah,
whether a sidewalk is shoveled, where the grass is mowed. Building department then takes care of things that are related to the structure.
no,
So
do you-
generally, this is someone's trash, someone's mess, someone puts a couch on the porch, and it's a fire hazard, this department will enforce that.
yeah, these people complain that their neighbor grass is tall enough and they don't get tickets and they get tickets. We just wanna make sure that everybody get treated equally in this.
And that is the goal.
Mm.
It is also the policy of the department to treat everyone fair and equal. Sometimes when someone gets a ticket, they think no one else did, but they would have no way of knowing if someone else did. So sometimes they work one area of the city,
Yeah.
and they're at the next area of the city. So, generally speaking, we do coverage from north to south, from east to west, and the streets are driven and the alleys are driven, regularly.
Also, in our grass cutting program, if we tag a property, if we have to tag a property a second time, then we also issue a ticket.
So
There's
you
no
give
reason
notice
we-
first?
Right, there's a tag that goes on the door, you don't get a ticket, you get the opportunity to cut, but if we have to put another tag on your door, say a month down the line, then you're getting a ticket.
Oh, thank you.
Councilman Shaheen?
I actually got answered, that was my questions, Mr. Chair, that, how much time do you give out to the residents before you cite it, give them the citations? And you just probably answered that, you put a
If they
tag
get a
there.
warning letter, it's gonna be a week. In this particular case with the grass program, it's 72 hours. Then they have to cut the grass. Then a contractor cuts it with no tickets involved. Only if we have to tag you a second time. If we gotta come by you and again you got tall grass, then you're getting a ticket with that notice that the contractor will cut.
I have one more question, that's concerned from the residents, that, there have been time that I have seen, I saw it myself, that they received the citation, the picture was taken from the neighbor. And the one that received the tickets, that picture did not belong to them.
Well, it
And-
happens when we're standing in
and-
the alley, there's no address. Very
So,
few
well, how did,
buildings
what,
have an address, so we're trying to guess from the trash can, some people have an address, or we're counting down from a property that does have an address. So this building might be 10 houses away from somebody, so we gotta try to figure out what that address is we're at. Actually, it's something that we would like to do, and actually, I believe it's in the ordinance that everybody's supposed to have an address on the house and in the alley.
yeah, that's why I asked this question.
And this is the appropriate time to mention one thing. Our ordinance also says that people should pull their trash can back into the yard after pickup. And that's something that, is a real problem in our community. People complain about their trash can being stolen. No one steals a full trash can. Only an empty one will get stolen. So, after your trash is picked up, move your can back into your yard, cleaner alley. and you don't have people rummaging through your trash as you throw it out throughout the week. Because there's always someone looking maybe for soda bottles or something that they find value in. So that's one point. The other point that you asked about, if there's ever a mistake, these are human beings that issue the tickets, and yes, there are mistakes. So when a mistake is made, we dismiss that ticket. If someone gets, it's something that is not belong to them, we receive a call and a ticket is dismissed. That's not arbitrary, it's checked if we made a mistake first, because we can't dismiss tickets that are rightfully issued. That happens in the court.
Councilmember Fahey.
Oh, one more thing. I got a resident that called me 2 days ago. And, you know, I did work in that department, but I want you to say it so viewers and residents can hear you. Is it always a warning first, or is it a citation?
It's not always a warning first, and it's usually depending on how bad it is. This year, we have a bunch of door tags that we're gonna start using instead of letters. And we're also trying to get email addresses to make it easier for us to contact everybody. But it's gonna be a tag, just like the grass program, you're gonna have 3 or 4 days, take care of the problem, we come back, it's not done, then you're gonna get a citation, you're gonna get a ticket.
So it's not based on, you know, our city ordinance or the city charter. It's automatically a ticket. But you guys do, for education wise, send actually a warning letter, let them know what's going on so they could fix that issue.
The ordinance does not say that a warning letter should be sent.
Right, there's only
There's
one.
nowhere in there that it says that. So the issue is that as a property owner, your responsibility is to keep your property in good repair and clean. It's pretty simple, you know, manage your trash appropriately, don't let things stack up, don't create rat harborage, because that's a problem when we're this close a proximity. With 30-foot lots, if you have a trash-filled yard, it's gonna spill over to your neighbor and rodent infestation. So our ordinance is written that everyone takes care of their own property from the center of the alley to beyond the curb in the street, so that, you know, you're picking up a pop bottle or a chip bag that's on the sidewalk, if it's in front of your house, and you take care of that. But large piles of things, or collecting water and garbage, creates a real health issue for our city. So that's the education that we hope that our community will understand, that you'll communicate to your constituents, because a clean community is a healthy community.
And that's why,
Also, we get a lot of complaints that perhaps they didn't put a mattress behind their garage, somebody dumped something. Unfortunately, unless there's a camera or you saw somebody do it, it's your property and you have to maintain it in the end.
and that's why I had to ask you that question, so people can watch a video. I know the person himself does watch our, on Comcast. Now, he can hear from you that, you know, it's not really, you know, it doesn't say in our city ordinance, you know, we have to give you a warning. It's actually
There's only one
automatic.
ordinance that I know of, and that's a graffiti, because technically it's a crime. So it says to offer a warning first prior to issuing the ticket.
And we do have on Saturdays, anybody who has large amounts of trash, every Saturday you can take it over on,
Actually, it's 7 days a week.
oh, they'll take it 7 days a week.
They leave the dumpster in front of the yard by the folding warehouse,
Wow.
and you're more than welcome to take any garbage there and throw it into that dumpster.
Yeah, if you
They
have an
prefer,
excess.
they prefer it not be like construction stuff, like you're doing the roof and take everything in there. But if you have a basement to clean out, you can take it over there and dump for free. And they have 2 dumpsters across from that, that's cardboard recycling, if you wanna recycle cardboard.
And where is it?
I can offer a little bit of comfort. You know, we always strive for compliance, not to be punitive. So, you know, Rocky and his people work very well with people in the city local prosecutor office to make sure that we're working to get people to be compliant and not be punitive. But we've had instances in the past where our budget cuts have led to reductions in Rocky's department. And all of the social media postings and complaints you're getting about overzealous enforcement, the minute the enforcement activity goes down, you'll start to get complaints from residents about why we're not doing enough to keep the city clean. So there's a balance that we try to, we try to gain, and I think Rocky has done a really good job over the years of trying to get there. His files are always well documented. We never get a file from Rocky that is not fully documented with photographs, and he's very good about it.
I know. I know about it. Thank you very much, Larry, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we move now to the last report, annual report for the public services.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Bill Diamond, DPS Director. So you know, I'm new to this position, just appointed in October, so I know you have a detailed annual report. I didn't do that all by myself. I have to thank my team, both in the office and in the field, that helped me prepare this. Speaking of my office and staff, I have 5 in the office, including myself. 2 clerks who are in the union, ASME, Local 666, a billing specialist, and then our water operator, who is Rodney Johnson. He works as a consultant. In the field, currently I have 4, my foreman, and 3 full-time employees. One of those full-time employees is injured, so I'm working with 2 crew members. So he got injured on the job and he had surgery. So he's off for probably another 2 months, and we had 1 opening for retirement back in November that we're currently trying to fill. So hoping to fill that position, and I'm also looking to hopefully get another position coming up, because they are overworked, to say the least, and we do have 1 temp employee that's through People Ready, who has been with us for about 2.5 years. That came in as like a seasonal, but we kept them on. So like I said, we're trying to work a few workers, but we're trying to get everything accomplished. Some of the things that we do, as you see my first paragraph, we try to maintain and we strive to improve our assets and our services. We're doing the best we can, and that includes our municipal buildings, our lots, construction, maintenance of our city, of our roads, streets, alleys, parking lots. We do deal with traffic lights, traffic and street signs, bus stops, park maintenance, parking meters, tree trimming, snow removal and salt application, garbage collection, water and sewer infrastructure maintenance, water bill processing, water uses monitoring, water meter installation and maintenance, and customer service. We don't do that just with all of us. There's contractors that we work with, obviously Hennessy, our engineers. I'm the direct contact person along with our city manager. Priority Waste handles our trash collection, but we are the people usually contacted first if there's issues. Sewer and water specialists handle our sewer and water repairs. We're out there working hand in hand with them, because we try to do all our gate turning to shut down waters when you get your notices, sometimes when there are emergencies. Tough to get those out right away. Rolar, who does our street sweeping, Infocent, who does our utility billing, and MPS Park, who does our meters. Countless others, contractors that we deal with that fall under my jurisdiction. Last year, for 2021, we did 3,150 work orders. 251 lead service lines were done just in the 2021. We've handed out 2,141 water filters and cartridges. That's been going very smooth throughout the city. Now they come to the city hall, to our counter, and now we are starting to hand out cartridges. So those families who have higher water usage, please come to to our counter. We can hand out cartridges now, the refills for them. And a lot of bigger families use a lot of water, so they're running through the cartridges quicker than what they're scheduled for. We've dealt with, we handle all the cash outs for the meters. We've done 3,664 meter cash outs. We have 6,200 of active account water bills which are ready to serve. We have lead service lines that are pegged. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that fall under my jurisdiction. My team has been doing very well. Like I said, I wouldn't have been able to throw this together without their help, so I can't take all the credit. Other than that, you have my full report. If you have any questions, please please feel free to call me. I know I've talked to a few of you, either on the side, through a phone call, through an email. Contact the city manager, try to answer everything that I can for you.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Bell, I want to thank you and your crew for the work that you guys have been doing. And hopefully we'll, it will get better as much as years and months that we go through. A question. There's a pothole on Miller and Conant. That work was done a while back, and they fixed it temporary, and then now it's really bad again.
Okay.
And the reason I'm mentioning it, because I was on that stop sign, 2 cars coming down on Conant, and they almost hit each other because they were trying to run away from that pothole.
Pothole.
So who's responsible?
So potholes are us. We actually just started doing potholes today.
Okay.
Today we did 6 hours worth of potholes. We worked on Gallagher and on Danforth. We did Eveline. So how they come in is in our complaints, and the councilwoman had mentioned on our portal, we get a lot of complaints through there. So we try to get to all our complaints within 30 days. Hopefully we do them quicker, but because of the weather, potholes have been on the side because we had to wait for everything to clear, and they're only gonna get worse. Our roads are in rough condition. We try to fill them when we can. So like I said, we did do a day's worth today. We will catch on. I'll write that down to make sure, Conant and Miller. And you can imagine that we get a lot of calls for a lot of potholes, and we can only get to them as, we have 1 trailer. I need 3 guys to do that. That takes away my whole crew besides 1 person, one of my crew members to do work orders that come in regularly, so. We are working on.
And I recommend if you can put that in your priority, because that's really a safety issue. And I noticed that,
Absolutely.
especially in that area. Conant's known to be, a main road. And people are coming from that little turn,
Right.
and they can't really see that pothole. So it just sadly, they see it, now they wanna move on, but there's another car beside them. So, I wish that you guys could, get that done ASAP.
Right, and if you've noticed, we do, during the winter months, we do try to backfill with our stone, because it's easier, we can get it in there to at least level off, with the plows going through, with the traffic, with the snow, it washes away. So there's a lot that we have to keep coming back to. We've got alleys like that as well that we try to, but being able to do it, it's not it would probably take us 2 or 3 weeks straight to get all of the city done, and that's working every day on potholes. So I just made a new order for more coal patch, which is it's recommended patching for winter months. So it's a little more money, but it holds better during these winter months, and it holds, until we get a full restoration.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just have a quick question, Bill.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to you and your crews and your workers, everyone, working very delicately to the residents. You guys did a good job during the snowstorm. I just have a quick concern or maybe a question that, during the snowfall, emergency, snowstorm, people leave their cars on the main roads, such as Conant or Joscampo. Do we have an ordinance to put a violation, that they violate this, leaving car on the main road during the snowfall, they're not supposed to? Would they get citations, or they supposed to move within?
On the main roads, as long as we have access and we are able to clear the parking lanes, we don't have a concern with that. I understand, if you go through the city, you can tell what cars has never been moved, and there's gotta be many residents that are upset with cars that are just parked there, because because they're full of snow, and people are moving out, so that is a concern. Fire routes, and anywhere that we have snow emergencies, we try to move them out, but you understand the parking in Hamtramck also. So, the only thing you can do, if it is up to a point that it's in our way, we try to find that owner and have it moved. If not, we do contact the police, and if it has to be towed, it will be towed. And that has happened in the past where we can't get a plow through the city, through a street.
Well, the event, like these 2 recent events that we had, this Conant, from Carpenter to all the way to Holbrook, many cars were left on the Conant Street. They're valid police, they're residents' car. But then, because of the cars being there, they never plowed the snow. And 100 feet, of spots that were not plowed. It's because the car was there, and they need to understand, at least they get a red, orange warning that don't,
So,
I mean, I move my
our main
cars,
concern-
I'm on Kona Street,
Right,
I'm on
and you
Kona
did
Street.
say, and I know what picture, you sent the picture, I believe that car is still there today. I think I saw that same car. So, Conant is a county street, so the county usually gets there before we do. We try to help clean it up, or, if we get there before, whatever, so the county does, Conant and Joseph Campbell. We try to make sure there's a path where you can drive. It's rough because not every city goes down and does your residential street, but we aim to get every residential street, we try to salt everything. It takes about 45 tons of salt to get through the whole city.
Yeah.
I can only order 50 tons of salt at a time, and it's usually a 5-day notice, and we get it right from the salt company, Detroit, mining company. So, we try to prepare for that. We have we were supposed to expect another delivery on Friday, last Friday. It didn't come because of the snow. It was pushed off till yesterday. It didn't come. We're hoping that it comes tomorrow because now we have more snow coming Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
So I mean, we do salt, we do plow, and it's very, we understand that when we plowed on the street, what do? It just pushes it to the side. But we try to get you so you can get to a main road.
Yeah, that gets
Right.
cleared, yeah.
Right. So.
But I want to tell you that the residents are happy. These 3 times snow that we got, and you guys did a wonderful job. And they're coming back and giving us a positive feedback. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I've let my crew know when you guys said, said thank you before, and, they work hard, they work through the night.
Yeah, they,
So.
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr.
Thank you for everything you've done for the community this winter. But I would suggest if you have a small truck that could drive in the small street, that would be great. Cause some street didn't get swept because of the too tight. So I would suggest if you in the futures or now buy a small truck.
Well, we do have a small truck that's one of our just regular trucks that goes down the side streets. So what happens, if they don't get to it, you think of all the side streets, I have three, maybe 4 guys out doing snow. We have a city, we're trying to get our major roads, our fire routes, overpasses, number 1. That's the number 1 thing. We have to get around City Hall, we gotta get the fire station. Those are the main things that we hit first. Sometimes we have to go back and hit those twice before I can even get into the residential. But we do have trucks that fit down residential, and it does push it, but you have to realize by the time we get to it, there could be ruts down those roads automatically, and then it can't get the blade down all the way. But we do have small gators, that's what we do around City Hall, into, the sidewalks, our sidewalks at the park. I mean, I've been using the snow blower, hitting the parks just to help. I've been very, very hands-on with the crew this year because of our numbers, so I've kind of taken away some of my time in the office to make sure I help the guys in the field. So we're trying, and I do understand. And good news is the trucks that we had purchased from the last are both in. So we do have 2 new trucks coming in, a 550, a Ford F550, and a Ford F350. So they should be delivered to getting outfitted with salt, with a dump truck and plows. So we have new ones. So. That's nothing but good news for us, and hopefully in the future I can get a couple more, and we'll be set. So we're doing pretty good with the tools that we have right now.
Councilman?
So I think you might have actually just answered my question with your statement of being more in the field than in the office right now, is with priority waste. And I know you do a great job at trying to answer all of the posts on Facebook too, which I commend you for, because that's a minefield that, I'm impressed that you enter that field. But so if people got their trash missed and stuff like that, they are supposed to email you and Kathy, correct?
A lot of the times, most customers know that residents that they will try to contact priority waste. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If they call our department, one of my clerks will answer, or if they contact me, or if it goes to the city manager, she sends it to me to make sure. And I contact Mark, who is our direct contact with priority waste. They're pretty good on getting back to it right away. It has been a tough couple of weeks, I'm sure you know, with DTE blocking alleys. And, you know, they come down and they plant their rigs and they, you know, they have, extenders on them because they're doing posts, so it's not something that they can lift up and move right away. I did talk to DTE and asked for a little heads up on those, so we know. And I've been trying to correlate with Priority Way, saying, these alleys are gonna be blocked today, you know, maybe try going to them at the end. And I can't say 100% of the time, but 90% of the time, if an alley is blocked during the day, they will come back and hit it. They'll at least try to access it the next, you know, at the end of their route. If
Yeah.
it doesn't, they'll come the next day.
Well, that's, I know sometimes my trash gets picked up at like 8 or 9 p.m. and again, that's very
And it's
late
rou-
to
and
be
it's-
working. I know
right,
that was a
and
long day for
It's rough doing it
them.
in the dark too, especially in our alleys when they're tight and,
Yeah.
you know.
So are you tracking, so like the ultimate question is, are you tracking long-term, like if there's any pattern between like which streets are being missed, or is there any repetition and stuff like that?
Priority Waste has a tool that shows exactly where they've picked up. So there are times that Bill and I get that call, my trash wasn't picked up. And it shows that they were there, that can wasn't out at the time they went down the street. So there is a tracking device that they look at the end of the day to see that they've been down every street. And if they haven't, you know, like Bill said, they come at the end. Like if they can't get down an alley, it shows at the end. So it's they have a very, very good system. And I can't commend them enough for coming out. If someone is missed, they don't argue about it, they just come. Their yard is right over Vincent Street, is it Christopher? Christopher Street. They come right out with a pickup truck and pick it up.
Yeah, do you know if they're, the contracted, because I've noticed there's off-brand trucks the past few weeks. So is
So
that
those-
just trying to keep up, and does that still feed into the tracking system?
If they are coming down our alleys and emptying them, then yes, that is part of them. They're probably having issue with staffing, so they have other, trucks as well.
They had some breakdowns,
Yeah.
and they rented some trucks.
Okay. I was just curious, because that was one of the big complaints last week, and it was, all of the pictures were an off-brand truck,
Right.
so.
And just to let you know, we do get real time, if an alley is blocked, their drivers are told to send a picture and a picture of the street sign between the alley, send it to Mark, and Mark sends it to me. So we kinda know where it's gonna be, so we have an answer when people call. When our residents call, so we can give them an answer. And like I said, if it not, we contact right away. It's either email, phone call, text. Mark is great on the text because he's out on the road all the time. So as many complaints that we get, not as near as how well they're actually doing. So they are minor. And that goes for everything. I mean, we are customer service based. And my clerks and my water specialists, you know, we handle a ton of phone calls and, you know, we try to get things mitigated as quick as possible.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the night.
Thank you. And if there's no objections from any of the city council members, we have one more recognitions to some of the staff members by ASAL. It was given to me during the event, but MD Alam is here to give it to those recognized by ASAL. You can have a few minutes to.
Oh, thank you, President. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that the city of Hamtramck is giving us a pleasure that while we are living and we are calling this home, and the Alliance of South Asian American Labor, ASAL Michigan chapter, we had an event last Sunday, the day of the Super Bowl. And especially we recognize as the Alliance of South Asian American Labor the municipal awards, and that 2022, it was, we listed and presented to our great city manager, Kathleen Anger, and the city of Hamtramck, Michigan, on the day of February 13, 2022. It was signed by ASAL President Dr. M. Ravi Alam, myself, and the Secretary General Minhaj Asal Choudhury. It is an honor to present to Kathy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, that's wonderful, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Also, we know that we have some up and down, we've been talking about the police department, but, at the same time, the city of Hamtramck Police Department been doing a great job, and we are going through it, and our great chief and Moise, we, on behalf of the Alliance of South Asian American Labor, ASAL Michigan chapter, we recognize your department and the service that what is given the city and to the citizens. We are here to honor, and we like to hand this over to you, our chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And finally, Rana Fraz took over recently and doing a great job for the city of Hamtramck. We really welcome you and we congratulate you, and we are looking forward to working near future. On behalf of the Alliance of South Asian American Labor Michigan chapter, we present this to the city clerk, Rana Fraz, and we really appreciate for your dedication and service to the city. Thank you. Thank you. Mayor, thank you so much. I
Thank
just
you.
take 30 seconds, just 30 seconds that you guys are doing a great job, and thank you that you joined with us. And as Hamtramck reached the 100 years of its centennial anniversary, on behalf of the ASAL, we handed a special plaque to the current mayor, Amir Ghalib. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you.
Now, I see some people are falling asleep. Now we get to the fun part, which is the public comment.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, we forgot addition, deletion.
Yes, is there any addition or deletions to the agenda? No.
I was gonna make one, but we had a long night.
All right, so
Good
now,
idea.
No.
public
Ready for
input,
public
please?
comment?
Yes?
Yeah.
All right, public comment, I have Lynn Blasey on Faber Street in Hamtramck. Welcome, Lynn, you have 2 minutes.
You guys wore us out this week. First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor and City Council for including the boards and commissions in last week's parliamentary plus a million other thing training. That was really wonderful training, and I learned a lot, and I'm following up with a few people that missed it, so make sure that they're kept in the loop, and so our boards and commissions can run as effectively as City Council does. I took care of these one more time, so I'm gonna skip some of that. For the agenda item about SUMCOG, I support sending Amanda as our delegate with her education. I'm confident that we will be well represented in that community as Hamtramck. And regarding the council rules, I would like to thank the subcommittee for including a time deadline for emailing the public comment to Rana, so the community knows that it should be emailed by 4 o'clock. I also want to thank the committee for preserving the amount of time allotted for public comment, and note that there is one small change, that the end comment is agenda only. I'm curious if, once council votes on this, if printed copies of updates can be included outside where we do the sheets, so that way people know right up front. Can I ask for a minute?
Yes.
Second.
Thank you. So I think that would be a good idea, just so people know when they show up, how that works. And then also, the end comment would be changed to only council topic items, so people don't plan on showing up late if they're not gonna talk about topics. And then also for the board and commission appointments, I'm really excited to see that Glafira is going to be hopefully added to beautification. She's been a huge help to me on the planter box projects on Campo, and has also taken the landscaping around Pope Park under her wing. So I think she'll be a really good addition to that, the commission. And that's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Corey, all the way from Plymouth, welcome. 2 minutes.
Good evening. Came down here mainly to hear some of the presentations of Plant Moran and Hennessy Engineers. a couple points I wanna make that really weren't, I think were emphasized enough. One thing that they didn't really emphasize was the impact of being under the emergency management as we were under Katrina Powell, and we were under actually, it was Kathy Square, and later Katrina Powell, the city manager, appointed by Kathy Square. That was an option that was imposed on a number of jurisdictions, including Hamtramck. We asked for that back in 2013. They wanted to be, for the simple reason is they could void the public collective bargaining agreements with public service unions. That was something that they thought was only gonna be in for like maybe 6 months, 3 months, ended up being a number of years. And even though it was unpopular, I supported these guys. I went to the TAB board meetings. I know Bob Zolak was at those meetings. And those guys, I think, did a very credible job in bringing the city back. And that's a possibility now. I know that Kathy Anger has a good relationship with the governor's office. She was the Democratic floor leader. And if we want to go into the emergency management situation, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea if that comes to be in the near future. A bankruptcy filing as Detroit did is another option to avoid a situation where a court comes in and there's a judgment levy. It's a very bad situation. You either see a bankruptcy court judge or an emergency manager run the city. We had Lou Schimel back in the good old days. I think he did a good job. So I really support those fellows and how they ran the city. Thank you.
Nasser Hussain, welcome, 2 minutes.
First thing, I suggest you move the public comment to the first thing before proclamation, recognition, and presentation. This way you get rid of a lot of people before going through these things. Regarding the resolution for the rules for the city council, I would recommend that you increase the public comment to 5 minutes as was before, or at least 1 minute per agenda item. It doesn't make sense if you have 5 things you want to comment on, you can cover them in 2 minutes. Second thing, for the coding enforcement, the city should either issue warnings all the time or tickets all the time. Issuing tickets sometimes and warnings sometimes gives a sense of selective enforcement. How come I got a ticket while my neighbor got a warning? For the city bankruptcy, I think you should divert all the income tax revenue to paying the pension obligation. This way they're gonna go to court and there will be no judgment levied on the citizens of Hamtramck. And the legal department, today when I was reading the report, says it's 1.2 million. When Jim Allen started here, it was 500,000. Now I know it's up to 1.2 million, 700,000 increase. Maybe you should take a look how much are these lost settlements and how much are they of fees. And the last thing is I thank you for nominating me for the planning commission. I was told that's good to resign from the zoning. It's okay with me to resign from the zoning, and if you need an alternate member for the zoning, I'll be happy to serve you. I was in zoning for 10 years. It's very hard to get people all together. I could serve as an alternate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it Kyle Lopez, Wayne County CEO?
Mr. Lopez had to leave,
Okay.
but he left for us some rental assistance folders. I have one for each of you, and then we'll make sure that that information is shared online so that our community is aware of what the program is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Amdi Alam, welcome.
Thank you so much. I just, off the city topics and city agenda, I just want to recognize that yesterday, 70 years ago, we are from Bangladesh. And Bangladesh is in Bengali. We speak Bangla. It's the only language and only generation that has been suppressed for their language. So the country was told not to speak their language. So what we did, we gave our lives, our people, and they fought for the language. The United Nations, after 60 years, recognized February 21st as the International Mother's Language Day. We really appreciate the city of Hamtramck, Mayor Amir Ghalib, and all the council issuing the proclamation. We really appreciate that. The International Mother Language Day that we celebrate. Bangladesh and Bengali, it is our culture, it is our existence. So in Hamtramck, we have thousands of Bangladeshi, and we use our language, Bengali. So that's our existence, and on this day, we really thank you, Mr. Mayor, and all the council and city administration for recognizing and standing at the midnight, the first hour, 12:01 a.m. with us in the community. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Thank you.
Mr. Bill Meyer, Hamtramck resident, welcome.
Okay, when are you pushing the button, right now? Go, okay. 2 minutes.
You're
So,
6 seconds in already.
oh, there's 5 seconds. So, Khalil, thank you so much for raising that point about mental illness by the gentleman in Dearborn who set fire to the mosque. That's always overlooked. This gentleman was an Iraqi translator who probably was part of the Iraq War, probably suffering PTSD, and mental illness is a serious thing, and he's dead now. And the mosque is saved, luckily. So thank you for your concern about that. So they have a subcommittee here that worked on the council rules. Thank you very much, Amanda and Hassan and Adam there. I mean, I read the thing. I couldn't see many words that were different. I think you just might change the title of the thing and put a few different things in there. Nothing critical except the minutes, of course, you changed that. And I just want to bring to your attention, there's a document called Chapter 30, which is the general provisions for boards and commissions, standing rules, which all the boards and commissions apparently have to follow, according to our city manager knows that. And in that, it says, according to the Open Meetings Act, and so-and-so, a person's limited to 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting and 3 minutes at the end of the meeting, no conditions. This is for all your boards and commissions, so now you're gonna make people who come to the city council meeting have less time and conditions. I would like to ask you to make it 3 and 3 and forget the conditions. About the revenues, yes, that's a problem, and I have some solutions for you. How many seconds do I have to give?
13.
15 seconds. Can I get another minute?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, we're gonna get millions of dollars from the marijuana dispensaries, so keep that in mind. That's coming according to the newspaper, as it was promised from the last administration. So millions are gonna come in from the dispensaries. Also, the parking meters. We're gonna get lots of money for the parking meters because, oh, that's my 2 minutes. Because everybody's paying tickets. I mean, it's like, people are calling me and saying, I'm never coming to Hamtramck again. I got letters in the mail, I'm getting tickets, it's ridiculous. So we got to think about that, and we got a parking meter committee, subcommittee, who's I'm sure going to do a lot of work on that one. Also, I got 2 budget suggestions. One is, why don't you check the past audits that we've had in the city over the last few years, and their predictions of what's going to happen. Like, go back 5 years and see what they predicted is going to happen today, and let's see how close they are to us dying today, or whatever like that. This is doom and gloom report that we just got. It's terrible. But I've heard that for 10 years. It's doom and gloom constantly. So somewhere along the way, somebody gets saved by some grant that comes in. Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Garrett, Mitchell Street in Hamtramck, welcome.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello, sir.
Board. One of my things was on the alleys. We're doing a good job getting the streets cleared off. For me, it's very important, as now I am one of the, part of the security with some of the dispensaries, and I have to be able to move out quick, and I don't have a big car. So when I get stuck, I'm stuck. But I'm glad that everybody's doing good. Public Works, you're doing a good job. I'd like to say thank you, mainly my code enforcement. Y'all doing a good job. Everybody just keep up the good work. Keep at it, Mayor. You're gonna figure it out.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Mr. Mayor, I do have a few public comments that were emailed to me that I'm going to go over right now. First one I have is Joe George. For public comment, I want, let me start that over. First public comment is
I guess he knew, and he didn't know.
I didn't know you were gonna cover a lot of karaoke cards.
I asked him to come over here. Can you do him first?
Mayor has to
Yeah, it's
approve,
fine.
Mayor, so
It's
Mayor
fine.
has to
Or if you
approve.
wanna rip the email.
No,
or
that's
go after.
okay.
He
You
didn't know
wanna
if
fill
you-
out one of the cards for me real quick?
Is that necessary?
Yeah, it is.
So why don't you do the emails while I do?
I'll wait for it. It's not a problem. You can fill it out after and give it to me. Just, you can stand up to the podium, sir. That's fine.
Very short and sweet. Nice to see the new mayor in action. Just belated congratulations.
Thank you.
And nice to see the council working so hard.
Thank you, sir.
I thought it would be mentioned like 15 times. So I was hoping not to have to get up and say something, but the parking meter new system on Joseph Campo is like offensive. It's all I've heard anyone locally talking about for like the last 3 weeks is how horrible it is. I've heard stories of people pulling over to check their text message, only to get home to find a mailed ticket from doing that. I'm sitting on a stack of 12 from when I go around the block to stop, and I don't get out the car. I wait for my friend to come down so we can go up north to the gym. So I'm not out of the car. I'm there for less than 10 minutes. I have 12 tickets. That's gonna be about $400. My gym membership is $90 for the month. So that's all. I just want to, I've never come to one of these before. I pay taxes, homeowner. It's all I'm hearing people talk about. It's offensive. It seems sneaky and funny. So I'll say that. I'm sure you understand. I'll fill this out and
Thank
give
you, I
it to you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't, 'cause I have other things to do, but really, man, we're telling people not to come to Hamtramck. People love coming here for a lot of reasons. If they have a souvenir parking ticket, every time they come, they will stop.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go back, I'll go back to my emailed comments. First one I have is Joe George. For public comment, I want to say that Nasser Hussain should not be given any position of power in Hamtramck. On the ZBA, he actively opposed the zoning allowance for a black woman-owned business solely on racist grounds and created a hostile environment, encouraging neighboring residents to publicly voice their extremely racist comments. He also routinely attacks the DDA and picks fights with residents on social media, more often than not citing inaccurate information, creating more confusion instead of moving towards solutions. Hamtramck will suffer if we put people like Nasser in a position of power that blatantly ignore what is in the long-term best interest of our city. Thank you, Yusuf George, Hamtramck resident. Second one I have is Mike Campo. I would like to have a formal complaint that will be read for public comment against Mr. Nasser. I have spoken with multiple residents within the city of Hamtramck, and they seem to have dislikes with Mr. Nasser, that he is not qualified for the position we need the city to move forward and be progressive. His actions seem to do the opposite and suppress the city with encouraging racism, propaganda, always complaining about the marijuana business. We need an individual that can take the city to new heights and bring diversity. Thank you. My last comment actually comes with a few exhibits, so I have those on the screen for you as I read the comments. This is from Christopher Schneider. City Council, I am writing this in regard to Nasser Hussain's reappointment. Mr. Hussain, in my view, is unfit to represent the city in any capacity. He has been banned from multiple Hamtramck community Facebook pages for violating rules of decorum. In the process, he has expressed anti-LGBT sentiments repeatedly, hurled unsubstantiated accusations against multiple Hamtramck residents, particularly the former mayor, and has expressed a distressing view on having sexual relations with children on many occasions. Below are a few samples I managed to find on Hamtramck Square. I'm just gonna rush through these. I'm not gonna keep them up for you guys to read. If you're interested in reading them, you can find the video on our YouTube page. Then, when he did not like my support for the previous mayor, he decided to attack the nonprofit organization I direct, making false accusations about the reason for my support. The city did sell Hatch, the former police station, for $1, but was due to the actions of Eric Tungate, who was at the time Hamtramck Economic Development Director. Our proposal to create an art center was approved unanimously by City Council. Mr. Hussein is entitled to his opinions and beliefs, but I do not believe such a person should be making decisions for our city. It is my fear that in expressing my views, he will use his position on the commission to try to cause further harm to myself and my organization. Signed, Christopher Schneider. And Mr. Mayor, that is all for public comments.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to the consent agenda, and this is adopted in a single motion with no discussion. A, approval of minutes from February 8, 2022, regular city council meeting. B, approval of invoice registered date ending February 22, 2022. C, approval of pre-approved expenditure date ending February 22, 2022. D, resolution 2022-18 approving SAMCOG delegate and alternate.
I motion.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No objections? All right. Well done. All right, we'll move to the new business then. And item 1 is resolution 2022-19 approving general provision governing the Hamtramck City Council.
Motion.
Second.
All right, discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilman Fahey?
I want to amend this motion. If I get a second.
Second.
I want to amend this, this motion here.
Tell what it is before you second.
Right.
My,
I was gonna say it.
Yeah, you need to clarify how you're amending
Okay.
before we get a
and
second.
I'm going to amend this under rules of debate and addressing the city council. In section B, number 2, to extend the time during the first public comment from 2 minutes to 3 minutes.
Can you please repeat that first part?
I'll repeat that.
I move to amend the motion under rules of debate / addressing the city council in section B, number 2, to extend the time during the first public comment from 2 minutes to 3 minutes.
I'll make a motion. Second. Another one.
Do we
Second.
have any discussion?
Now, Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilman?
I was gonna ask for 5 minutes. I'm just kidding. That's too well, as Councilman Rafi said, and many publics would like to put their comments, 3 minutes would be appreciated, I think. We should adopt the 3 minutes for the public to comment in the beginning, and then 3 minutes at the end, right?
Yes,
Public comments.
Both?
both.
So that would be 3 minutes with additional minute if needed?
Nope.
No additional
Just 3
minutes.
minutes?
It's just 3.
So what's the change then?
So it's the same thing.
There's no change. I mean, it's the same.
Well, I'm amending the first public comment to be 3 minutes. And then the rest can stay the way it is.
So it's now 2 minutes with additional minute if needed. So if you make it,
Well,
if you
okay,
wanna make a change, then it would be 3 minutes with additional minute if needed.
Yes, sir, with the
Okay.
first public comment.
All right.
So 4 minutes total?
3 plus add another minute.
All right.
So 3 plus 1 in the
3 plus
beginning
1,
and 2 plus 1
And
at
then
the
2
end.
plus 1.
2 plus at the end. That's more clear.
Conditions?
You're not allowed to speak right now.
You wanna
Sorry.
change the condition at the end? I mean, anyone want to discuss
Yes.
the other? Yes,
Mr.
Councilman Asmari.
If they make the 3 minute, if someone, they have more comment, we give him extended 1 minute, is okay.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yes, we'll keep it
That's
like
what-
this, yes.
I think it's fair with the restriction on the end, so.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think we should support this amendment because we wanna listen to the people concerned and we wanna hear their opinions I think the only people who's gonna show up is the people who really care about the city and they wanna voice their concern, and I support that.
All right, anyone else? All right,
You're gonna vote on the change and then vote on the
Yes.
amended resolution.
so we'll vote now on the amendment that was just suggested. The amendment will be to have 3 minutes in the first round of comments plus 1 minute if needed,
Yes.
and 2 minutes at the end plus 1 minute if needed.
So it doesn't, the last one doesn't change then?
They did not,
No,
they did not talk about
last
the
one's still the
conditions.
same.
So the amendment
should-
is only the first public comment will be moved to 3 minutes as opposed to 2 minutes with the additional minute if needed.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
There's a condition attached to it.
Bill? Bill?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Rafai?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Chowdhury?
Yes.
Councilman Albramaki?
Yes.
Councilman El Samiri?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, that one has passed. The amendment 2219 has passed.
All right, now we vote on the amended resolution.
Yes.
Amended resolution.
I motion.
No, you don't
Yes.
have
We
to.
already motioned.
Oh, no,
Okay.
no,
Motion,
motion.
we just
There's
make
a
a,
voting
we just
test.
make a vote.
It's now.
Councilman El Samiri?
Yes.
Councilman Albramaki?
Yes.
Councilman Chowdhury?
Yes.
Councilman Rafai?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakowski?
Yes.
Mayor, it has passed.
All right, thank you.
That's it.
Right, we'll move to item B, Resolution 2022-20 approving award of 2022-23 lead water service line replacement program, DWRF, to Super Construction.
Make a motion.
I second.
Any discussion? No discussion? We call the rules?
Councilwoman Jakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Albramaki?
Yes.
Councilman El Samiri?
Yes.
Councilman Chowdhury?
Yes.
Councilman Rafai?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, that resolution is passed.
All right. C, Resolution 2022-21 approving supplemental bond resolution to authorize issuance of additional water supply and sewage disposal system revenue bonds.
I motion.
Second.
Discussion?
No, it's pretty stubborn.
No discussion? Call the rules.
Yeah, just.
Councilwoman Jakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Rafai?
Yes.
Councilman Albramaki?
Yes.
Councilman Chowdhury?
Yes.
Councilman El Samiri?
Yes.
Resolution 2221 passed, Mayor.
Thank you. D, Resolution 2022-22 approving appointments to boards and commissions.
Make a motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Councilwoman
No,
first.
no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that, we need to ask what is our options with discussing what was said during public comment versus passing this immediately?
So, do you want to clarify the appointment?
Yes, could
appointees?
I please, I'm sorry, I stepped out of the room for 1 second. So is resolution 2022-22 on the table right now?
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. So, we'll need, in order to pass this I would ask that you would amend this resolution at a minimum to include the following. G.S. Taladuker, would like to be appointed to the full zoning board of appeal, and there is an opening, so he could be placed on that. Abu Musa to the plan commission, as stated. Glafira Gordon to the beautification commission, as stated. Gias will have to resign his position and has agreed to do so on the Human Relations Commission in order to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Nasser Hussein could be appointed to the Plan Commission, but he would have to give up his ZBA, and he agreed that he would do that when appointed. And then we would send those letters saying thank you for your service. Thank you. Muhith Mahmood to the Zoning Board of Appeals, to a full-time position.
Okay. So make a motion, or
So, did you make a motion
We did,
already?
we opened this.
So now you would amend the resolution if you chose to reflect what I just stated, and I can state it again before you vote.
I'll make an amendment.
I
would
second.
like,
Okay. Any discussion for the amendment?
Okay,
Well-
so, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
So the amended resolution would read, Abu Musa to the Plan Commission, Gias Talukdukar to the full zoning board of appeals, full position, and resigning human relations, Glafira Gordon to the beautification commission, Nasser Hussein to the plan commission, but he would have to give up his ZBA position, Muhith Mahmood to the zoning board of appeals. That would be the amended resolution.
So,
So you would vote on the amended resolution.
all right. let's
before
call the
that,
rules.
could we ask them to introduce themselves? Or
Mr.
is
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, we
That
have
they're
to,
here, we wanted to recognize them.
all right.
You know.
Start with GS.
Yeah, start with.
And we don't have Abu Musa or,
He had to work tonight.
okay,
Yeah, and he probably didn't think it would go until 9:45.
all right. And Gordon?
And the Gordon, I have never met this person.
I don't know her.
No, yeah. Who's, I wish we had the face in here, because
I know
they'll be
that,
serving on a board, you know?
I understand. Mr. Mayor, I know that high marks were given by our board member, Lynn Blassie, for this individual. She gave a little overview, and I don't know if work kept her from coming tonight, but, you know, based on Ms. Blassie's work in the city, as well as her recommendation for this candidate, I don't know if any of the other members of our council know that individual, but others could speak to that.
All right, we actually appreciate anyone who step up and serve, you know, we,
Yes.
thank them for their interest in serving the city. So we go ahead and call the rules for this amendment.
Councilman Rafai?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Chowdhury?
Congratulations, and yes.
Councilman Albermaki?
Yes.
Councilman El Samiri?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, Resolution 2222 has passed.
All right, then discuss the amended resolution. Do we have
That
a
was the-
motion?
That was the amended. That
This
was
is the amended already? All right, so
No.
it was the amendment.
That was the amendment.
And now pass the full resolution.
Full resolution, we have to vote again
Mhm.
on the full resolution.
Councilwoman Jakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Rafai?
Yes.
Councilman Chowdhury?
Yes.
Councilman Albermaki?
Yes.
Councilman El Samiri?
Yes.
So Mayor, the amended resolution of 2222 has passed.
All right, thank you. Now,
222.
Yeah, it's all 22, 22.
all right, so we get to the reports and we start with the Chief Financial Officer Controller report.
Thank you. And this will get us caught up after the holidays and back on our regular schedule. So at our last meeting, I presented the December 31st, 2021 financials, and now you have the January 31st, 2022 financials. So nothing really changed, I mean, the numbers changed, but there were no red flags, nothing that concerned me after seeing the activities for the month of January. If any council has questions about any of the information, trying to be brief, because I know the hour is late tonight, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, so
I have just a quick question. So, since the year 2022 started, and we're in month of February, any significant change from last year so far, the January month, or in January? Any more like expenditure occurred?
We've done the budget adjustments for them.
We're halfway through our fiscal year, And so what she's reporting on is that at that halfway point, you're looking at things being at 50% expenditures or 50% revenues, based on when things come in. Some things are annual, we don't get a bill till later, some revenue comes at certain times, but we're on track for our budget for this year.
Where is it? That was the answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so the mayor's report, I actually do my weekly report on Mondays, so I almost repeat everything today. First, let me thank those people who, volunteer to serve in some boards and commissions. And so thank you for your interest to serve the city. Over the past week, or 2 weeks, we had several events that I attended. One of them was the ASAL event, and thank you for your recognition and the certificate that you gave me and all the city officials. And for the dinner and REMAS. On the other side, there was a dinner for the American PAC, which had a new administration, so we would like to congratulate their new president and their new, all the new administration. So Luqman was elected as the new president. We had they were in the same time in that restaurant. So this past week we attended the Ukrainian rally. I was there with Amanda and Lynn, and we show support to the Ukrainian community because we have some here in Hamtramck. And because the situation there is very critical in East Europe, and we don't want to talk about international politics, but it will affect the whole world. As we know, we are the main country in the NATO, and if the war broke there, then we'll be involved involuntarily. So we pray for peace there, and we share the same concerns for the Ukrainian residents of Hamtramck about their country. Another event is the International Mother Language Day. We were there midnight. It was fun. So it was my first time to attend this meeting. It was my pleasure, and it's very interesting to learn that this event was initiated in Bangladesh and has become a universal day, international day. So that's something Bangladeshi people should be proud of.
Thank you.
Also, we attended the MMA Weekender course last week. We learned a lot, and I hope that we can get those presentations sent to us because we feel like we want to go over them again or listen to them or watch them again if possible. But they said it takes weeks to edit them and send them.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, that's all I have for my report, and we'll move to the Mayor Pro Tem. He's not here today. He apologized. He couldn't make it. City Council, anyone want to say anything?
Yes.
Let's start with Adam.
Okay. I just wanna talk about two things. So wanna congratulate the new commissions and the zoning board. And the second thing is mental health. Yeah, check on your family, check on your friend, check on your colleague, see if they acting different, if they change, if you know something about them, talk to them if you feel they acting weird or something. Because mental health is important. He could be the richest man or the famous woman in the earth, but still going through difficult times. So I want to thank Khalil and I want to thank Bill for talking about mental health because it's important. One of the famous women in US, Miss US, she killed herself. It's not easy. It's hard. So check on your family and your friend. And thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, John.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I want to congratulate our new commissioners on a boards and zoning, planning zone, board, zoning board and planning commissioner. And I would also like to thank you, Asal, Dr. Rabi Alam, for recognizing us and having that dinner on Sunday Super Bowl day, and recognizing the city officials and everyone. It's meant a lot to us, giving us the credit and emphasizing or giving us encouragement to continue to empower and continue to cultivating our society. So I want to thank you. And I want to thank the mayor and the city officials and city administration being there, Mother Language Night. It was a fun night. It wasn't very cold, so we were very lucky to have that night being there. And as you know, that touches our heart. And our international mother language tongue, we speak that language at home, and many folks, many college students sacrificed for that tongue to speak Bangla during the riots and against the Pakistani Urdu. So thank you so much for celebrating with us. Second, we have another snowfall coming this Thursday, maybe?
Thursday, Friday.
So, no. So let's keep a cross finger. No, we don't want it. But you know, it's coming, so be cautious, be courteous to the others, neighbors. That's all, and be healthy and safe. God bless you. Good night.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes, Councilman Sumairi.
I want to thank everyone they show up today, and congratulations for the planning commission and the zoning board, Giyash and Mahid and Nasr Hussain. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're done with the city council report. Now we get to the city manager report.
And I will be brief at this late hour. Of course, I want to congratulate our newest members to boards and commissions, but I also want to mention the DDA had an election, Mr. Mayor,
Oh, yeah.
of their new officers, and thank the former chairman, Vince Zaborski, who served for years on that. In a couple months, Joan Bittner filled in after he resigned in November. So he was a longtime chairman of the DDA. He'll still participate, but Ahmed Al Hassan will be the new chair, Andy Dow as the vice chair, Milo Maydal as the treasurer, and Andrew Kopitz as the secretary. And I wanted to mention that they have a signed facade grant. The application is available on the city website under the DDA page, and there's also paper copies that are downstairs in the lobby and in the building department. And what that is for DDA businesses. So that's the businesses that are primarily on Joseph Campo, from Carpenter to Hamtramck Drive. There's a few little offshoot streets that also would be eligible. It's by application. They have a committee who reviews those and awards those grants. And that's the money that is collected is not city funds. It is money that is the DDA business owners pay into, that they're levied, and then they are allowed to distribute that money. So it's a good use of their money to beautify each of the individual businesses. And they go over that. They have a committee that decides who gets those grants. So it's a thorough process. Next week, we have a budget meeting, 6 p.m. here on March 1st. So it's gonna be in person, council, we will have some department heads here, but that's 6 p.m. on March 1st. Put that in your calendars, and I will make sure that Mayor Pro Tem knows as well. International Mother Language Day was, I think, the best ever. But I want to thank former Councilman Musa for staying with that on behalf of the city, and then all of you as council members who participated and helped organize that. And that completes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Now we back to the fun part, public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Mr. Mayor, since there's no change to the second one, we stay the same, but our next meeting will reflect the change that the council rules.
Okay.
Well, Lynn Blasey, I'm sorry. Lynn? I'm too tired. Okay, thank you. Mr. Mark Corai, Plymouth, welcome, 2 minutes.
Couple things I'd like to mention. First of all, the fellows just here about the parking meters. I've heard nothing but complaints from people about these meters. It's my understanding, I don't think we've gone past the point where the city's actually getting money from this, because the people over at MPS are raking huge amounts of cash from what I'm hearing. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars every day with these tickets and all these fines. But everybody's complained about this. I can remember when I was here the night they passed it. Basically, council passed this based on a salesman coming for city council, just selling it, and nobody really checked into it. That's why we're stuck with this. There's a contract, so it's hard for us to get out of it or try to amend it. But something has to be done because it's driving customers out of the downtown. If we don't do it, what's going to happen is it's going to impact downtown business and impact the entire city. What this city needs is more investment, more businesses to raise money, employ people, and develop more of a tax base, property tax base, income tax base, and help it move out of the insolvency situation it's nearing. So that's why I want to say, get the parking meters done first. I can remember his campaign manager got 606,000 tickets, which is bad news for the campaign manager. I believe his name was Adnan.
He wasn't the campaign manager, he was part of the team.
Yeah, he was part of the team, and he got these tickets. It's great news for the city or for MPS, but it's bad news for him. So that's where some of these people are having problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nasser Hussain.
Thanks for the appointment to the planning commission. Inshallah, we'll work hard to improve the zoning ordinance. The DDA sign facade grant, I don't think it's a good idea. It's very unfair to collect taxes from everybody and go spend it on one business. Hamtramck, Joseph Campbell is very ugly. I think if they give the money to the beautification commission, they could beautify Joseph Campbell and make it one of the best streets in the state of Michigan. So it doesn't make any sense that if somebody can't afford to install a nice sign or a nice facade, they shouldn't be in business. It doesn't make any sense that I will tax everybody and give it to the person with the worst facade to make it look beautiful, while the rest don't benefit. So any money spent to the DA should be for the benefit of the whole district, not just a business. Mowing, snow removal, beautification, that's what should be spent on. Thank you.
Mohit Mahmood, welcome, Holbrook, Hamtramck, 2 minutes.
Good evening, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, City Council. Good evening, City official, audience, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you guys. And thanks for appointing me to this commission position. I love to work for the City of Hamtramck. This is one of the most, what is called diversity, probably in the whole country. And I'm glad to be part of it. And just want to echo a couple things regarding the meter system. I think it's hurting really our business owners. And is there any way, if you can find a way to pause those meters for a few years, renegotiate with those companies, and see if when our business can booming, we get more traffic, then maybe you can, utilize those meters again. I don't know. I do your intelligence of due diligence. I hope you guys will find a ways to minimize those issues, because this is a huge complaint from every business owners. Another things, I was hearing about it's been a little bit harder to hear from outside, but we were hearing about the sewerage system. And many of us and all of us that are running for election, previous campaign, that was one of the biggest concerns from the community. So I know Madam City Manager mentioned that she applied to the FEMA for the funding. I hope someone come up with the, the funding, and we can always work on it, work harder, and maybe see you can find a way to minimize this issue and get burden and stress relief from our community. Thank you so much, Rana. I'm done. That's it. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Amdialam, welcome.
Thank you. Actually, I like to request a minute in advance. I see.
You want the approval first?
Second.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
I see injustice.
Only you can approve it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I see injustice on place, that injustice everywhere. Whether Nasser Hussain spoke for himself or not, what I found is beyond decency. as a city council meeting, somebody in social media bullying someone, that's not appreciated. The person has to come face to face. I want to see, I don't know Nasser Hussain. I have no personal business. But on an official meeting, somebody writing on social media, allegation, claiming, falsification, whatever it is the case, that's not appreciated. That type of comment is libel, slanderous, derogatory, defamation. It should not be allowed, this type of content. Because he did not answer it. He did not say anything. He was talking about his appointment. It could happen to anybody. What my request today, especially my friend Jim, any derogatory, defamatory, anything coming from the social media, that should never been broadcast from here. Because you are reading off, that look like it's coming from you. Whether I never planned to speak about this, I was going to speak something else. But my request, if there is a social media, email and comment, people have allegation against people, they should be here. They should never send email and dragging about people's dignity. And I'm sorry to yelling and screaming and raising my voice. And people get appointed, you could postpone that for those two people. We understand Abu Musa and other people, you want to see them. We could postpone them. And council, you are voting, you could say, yes, I'm voting for 3, those present here, thank you so much. That's not appreciated. We can take little more practice into some, that make it much more effective, efficient, productive. I like to see that young lady who's been appointed. I understand my good friend Lynn Blasey, who recognized. So, and also another resolution you guys passed without any discussion. The gentleman was there and we are sitting here, there are few input I cannot give, we cannot talk. That's the biggest, so vital, critical resolution you're passing without any discussion. Anyway, I'm not here to run this, but my request, in future, please don't share any comment that is slanderous. I really appreciate if we take care of that. Thank you.
Mr. Bill Meyer.
Wow. I'm gonna ask Lynn, can I get your 2 minutes? Can I take it?
No, he already took it.
Okay. All right, 2 minutes. One, there we go. Totally agree with what he just said. First of all, I'm excited about what happened last night. I would have been there at the event if I had known about it, but our monument, our memorial, our mural that we put on Carpenter had the Shahid Minar on it, and we certainly recognize that history. And One Hamtramck put that mural up. So at the end of what I said, I got cut off because I only had whatever minutes I have. I have 2 budget suggestions for you. The first one was to check the past audits to see how accurate they've been. Go back 10 years and see what they said is going to happen in 3, 4 years and see if it happens. So not that the guy's lying, I don't mean that. I mean, he had a lot of bad news for you. But maybe it doesn't always come out that way. Second option was maybe you should create a budget revenue committee. A committee that's going to study how to get revenue into the city. Not people in the city necessarily, but experts in the field that are willing to come here and volunteer their time to help us with it. Okay, so, about the warning tickets for the lawnmower and all that you had, Naeem, you make the laws here. Why don't you make an ordinance to change that? Add a warning ticket to that. You could do that. Put a resolution in and vote for it. See if everybody likes it or not. You can also make a law about snow parking if you want to. That you can't park on the streets after so-and-so. Check that out. That's what you guys do. You make laws. Don't ask someone else to do it. You got hired now, and you got to do it. I have a car sitting in front of my house for like 6 months. It hasn't moved. Can you also, when you do that, can you also add another law about you have to move your car at least within a month? Okay, that would be good. And an idea for Bill, what's his name? Bill Diamond. Bill Diamond. He's doing a great job. I mean, I came today to complain about a flood in front of my house, and I mean, he went out there and looked at it before I even got home to look at the thing. I mean, he was on the road doing that, and I really appreciate it. Oh, 2 minutes ago.
Thank you.
1 minute left. Oh, can I get an extra minute? Okay, fine. Okay, so, one more thing here, curriculum exchange ordinance, yeah. Well, that's what it was, it's just the last thing. The insults to Nasser were uncalled for. He's a friend of mine, and those were public comments have conditions. If you look on the rules of meetings and stuff, they can't be insulting, and it's up to the chair to stop that from happening. In the past, they didn't stop that, and people were really nasty at meetings. And she read this, and she should have known that she shouldn't have read that, and it was more than 2 minutes, by the way, I counted it. If I could write a 4-minute letter and you'd read it, I'd rather do that. So 2 minutes for the call-in and the readings, and she had a slideshow along with the 2 minutes. That's pretty cool. Maybe I'll do that instead. But you can't attack people. Hey, MD has said it. I totally agree with him. Let's respect each other, and that was uncalled for. Nasser's a good guy. Thank you.
And last public comment, Mr. Gleis, can you comment? Diaz, last name is?
Talukdar.
Talukdar?
Okay.
Okay.
Talukdar.
Better as the days go by.
Yeah, the meaning of talukdar is landowner. I don't know how much land I own, but. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council. Thank you, everyone that's here. Thank you for appointing me. I congratulate myself and the ZBA. I also congratulate everyone that's been appointed today. I would love to serve the city as far as with our knowledge that we have gained throughout our life. So about me, I moved here in Michigan back in 2013, but I came to this country in 1998. And I was in a pharmacy school. I have worked in a pharmacy for almost over 10 years. Somehow I merged into a businessman, a car business, totally a different subject, but I intend to love it. Now, as far as in Hamtramck, we have a lot of businesses that's very in common. We have a very small city here, it's 2 square miles. We don't want same business grow and grow over here. We want something different. The thing here, a lot of people that goes to work, and we have a lot of sitting moms here. We have a lot of children that do not have capacity to do any kind of amusements in the city of Hamtramck. And I feel very sad as a businessman. I wish I had that kind of money that I would open up some kind of children amusement where these children and moms that you call homemaker can come to with their children and have some fun during the summer at least. So I hope we can bring some good ideas to the city of Hamtramck with some newer business that can create some facilities for the sitting home and moms and the children itself. And thank you. It's been a long night, and I appreciate everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Mayor, that is all for public comment.
All right, then we'll move to adjourn.
I motion.
Second.
All right, we look tonight. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
We adjourn at 10:13.
Congratulations, man. Thank you for serving the city. Yeah, we need it.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
That was.
Thank you.
Is it a council water or you can have it?
No, you can have one. It is for us, right? But you see, we make an exception to Apamusa and Gordon. That's what I was going to say, but then we don't have too many people serving on the board just to, discourage them. That's why I didn't make this. That was the idea. If you're not here, you're not going to be on the board. We will do